Okay. I realized my mic was not plugged in. No one questioned that. If you can now hear me, hit 1, like the stream, or just send me loads of money. All options are welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Seem to be having a good, long, large crew here today. It's all well and good. All right, we're just about to get started with another stream today. I hope you're all sitting cozy, sitting comfy, because we have quite the topic to discuss. Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully you enjoy it. We'll find out in a few minutes, won't we? But until we get started, make sure you get yourself a nice cozy drink, sit back, and actually, I can just click a button right now, can't I? Start the stream right now. Let's do that. A super chat to welcome us in. Excellent.
At user_225_CCC super chatted $1.99. Uva Bowl versus Tommy Wiseau oiled wrestling match.
That is a thought I was not expecting to hear today when I logged on stream. I didn't think when I got online today, I was thinking, you know what I really want to imagine? Two of the worst directors of all time oiled up in a wrestling match. But the answer is, of course, Tommy Wiseau, because he is just a mysterious entity. I will say, though, if Neil Breen were in that competition, he may have the edge. Just saying. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another one of these streams. I know the title is a bit dour. The topic worth discussing. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, there's a few things I want to talk about. One, of course, I want to give this music's inappropriate for what I'm going to do right now. I want to give a quick little shout out to here's the article. Perfect. Kylie Hotley, I think that's how you say her name, who passed away just recently. Super chat.
At Mark M1575 super chatted $5. Sup Ant. Greatly enjoyed the Odyssey this weekend. Biggest complaint is not enough footage to mix with Epic the Musical.
Yeah, like I feel like, especially after seeing all the mixes of like X-Men 97 with the Prince of Egypt soundtrack, I was really bummed out. We didn't get more like direct one-to-one from, the Odyssey, but what are you going to do? I mean, the movie definitely had flaws, I think, as an adaptation, but as a movie, it's fantastic. I think a lot of people have an issue with that. Anyway, I want to bring up this quick little story right here. Sadly, Godzilla versus Kong star Kylie Hotley has passed away. Super chat coming in. Thank you.
At Zypher 8677 super chatted $2. Breen has shown us time and again that he is Jesus.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Breen can do whatever he wants. He can just plug computer chips into his arm and he's like, gets programmed with pro wrestling skills. Anyway, very sadly, she passed away in a car crash in Maryland in a 1995 Honda Accord veered off the road into a ditch. She is, of course, a deaf actress who is very well known for playing in the Godzilla versus Kong movies. It's very sad. It's a very sad passing. And a 1995 Honda Accord. That car is older than her by a lot. Jesus, what a horrible way to go. It's really heartbreaking. But also worth mentioning as well, another distressing, unfortunate piece of news. Pixar layoffs. Big deal here. A lot of animators at Pixar were just laid off. Several hundred positions were eliminated, with Pixar and National Geographic being most affected. This is in addition to previous cuts done back in April. Disney has been shutting down jobs left and right and embracing AI. I love how Pixar has two of Disney's biggest hits, Hoppers and Toy Story 5, and they're the ones who get punished for it. Just yeah, no, it's awful. It's truly awful. It's terrible. Yeah, so it was company wide layoffs, but mostly from Disney. And this is in addition to the 1,000 jobs they eliminated previously, particularly in marketing, which is and this coming alongside when friggin' Disney's embracing AI increasingly more and more. It's absolutely disgusting. Um, yeah, the majority of those are impacted within Pixar or the TV group at National Geographic. Yeah, it's absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. But yeah, no, Disney continues to, as much as I love the, and it's not Pixar's fault, it's Disney's fault. Let's not make the mistake there. Pixar did not decide to lay off these employees. This is Disney upper brass. It's Disney upper brass deciding to do this. The C-suite guys, like the new CEO.
At user_225_CCC super chatted $1.99. Listen to Ed Zitron.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait for the bubble pop.
Yeah, no, the bubble is going to burst with AI. But it's just horrible. It's just genuinely terrible seeing that happen. Yeah, no. Pixar mirroring the gaming industry. Well, it's not Pixar's fault. It's Disney's fault. Don't forget that. Pixar is a subsidiary of the Disney corporate brand. And especially considering you're going to get D23 in like a month. Let's not forget those details when they come and hype up their new projects. And what's interesting is the new CEO, he's very inclined to do projects for Disney World and
At Kanasha37 super chatted $2. We need more Satoru Iwata.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Satoru Iwata, when Nintendo was having financial troubles, the CEOs took a pay cut because they figured that it was their accountability as well. If the company doesn't do well, they took a pay cut and didn't lay off any of their employees. That should be the standard, as opposed to CEOs getting raises and firing everyone else. It's awful. Because look, when it comes down to it, the people who make the stuff you love, they're the ones who suffer the most. Disney corporate is a collective ghoulish just mess. But the Disney artists who create the stuff you love, the Imagineers, the writers, the actors, the guys on the ground floor, even the more enthusiastic producers like Kevin Feige, they are ultimately the people responsible for making the stuff you like. It's Disney corporate that puts all the stuff in that you don't like. If you ever saw something from Disney that you didn't like, chances are it's not the artist's fault. It's the executive's fault on some level. Like even all the Disney Plus shows that like diluted the Marvel and Star Wars brands, that was a request from Disney CEOs. So if you have issues with I don't know, Supergirl or The Acolyte or whatever, your issue lies with the executives, not the freaking writers who work on it. But that's too difficult of a conversation to have with some of the chuds. So what are you going to do? Read your loins, because all accounts, the AI bubble is really the only one thing holding probably the U.S. economy. Yeah, no. When it pops, it's going to cause massive ramifications across the entire globe. Not just the United States economy, global economy. It's going to cause a lot of things to go wrong very quickly.
At user_225_CCC super chatted $4.99. Oracle bonds got downgraded to one above junk because of its OpenAI risk. Could put the para-WBD merger in jeopardy if Ellison gets margin called LMAO.
That is already at risk. Let's talk about the Paramount Warner Brothers merger for a second too, because there's some stuff there I think is very interesting. So with the Paramount Warner Brothers merger, recently, this is from the New York Times reporting this, a judge has put a temporary. That's all. I hate when it does that. Always one that's like not gonna block my screen with an ad read. Oh, here we go. This is a little easier. Here we go. This is a little more legible. Go over here. Go over here. God, whatever.
At Maryland 614 super chatted $4.97. Execs and chuds have something in common. Subtlety is not their forte.
Subtlety is never
Nor
their
is
forte.
literacy.
No, never. So looking right here, let's take a look at this article right here. Judge says Paramount and Warner Brothers must halt merger for at least 2 weeks, granting state's request. So right here, federal judge on Monday ordered Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery to halt their $81 billion merger for at least 2 weeks, allowing states that are challenging the deal more time to see their case through in court. 12 states sued to block Paramount's pending buyout of Warner Brothers last week, alleging such a combination would extinguish competition in Hollywood and lead to fewer choices for consumers, particularly moviegoers and cable consumers across the U.S. States' top prosecutors call on Warner and Paramount to not close the transaction until after a court has had time to fully evaluate the claims. When the companies refused, they filed for a temporary restraining order, which is what the district judge has granted on Monday. This opens the door to a potential preliminary injunction that the states are also seeking to effectively block the deal. This is the first win against the mega merger. Now, is this a total win? No, it would not. It is not. This is not a final bout that just paused for a couple weeks. But should there be more investigation with the court and all that, this can potentially completely derail the proceedings. This is very good. It's one of those great little injunctions. But the timeline is unfair. For the states. But something else is some people forgetting about. After September 30th, if Paramount does not complete the merger, they will have to pay $7 million per day. So, if this delays the merger until after September 30th, every day Paramount will have to pay $7 million. It's going to be a lot of money. And Paramount's already paying $111 billion for Warner Brothers. So there's a chance that Paramount completely overextends itself and is ruined by this deal if it gets blocked and if the merger is delayed. That's what it's going to be. Yeah, exactly. Latest news on it was that the state AGs and shareholders are suing over the merger. How did you screw up this badly? You lost the shareholder. Yeah, how'd the shareholders get that pissed off? That's when you really have a concern, you know? This feels more like a kick the can strategy until they get a Dem in White House and then won't be up to Elson's ass. Yeah, if they delay it that long, that's excellent. However, these kind of cases can take a very long time. It can take years for this litigation to get untangled, if it so happens. And if it kicks the can long enough, and the government steps in with a Democratic president, which
at Mark
might
M1575 super chatted $2. Revenge for not releasing the Avatar movie.
Yeah, exactly. Paramount also did the shitty Scream 7 movie too, so that's another factor as well. The point is that these are extremely major stories that need to be discussed because I don't know if you guys know this. Of course you guys know this. You're all invested in film and all that. The 5 legacy studios, I believe they are Disney, Warner Brothers, Paramount, Universal, and 20th Century Fox. Now it's down to 4 major studios. They are, coalescing at an alarming rate. And quite frankly, by combining all these legacy studios, it's bad. Like MGM was another legacy studio. That's now owned by, those rights for MGM have been a complete mess. That company was like stripped for parts basically. United Artists / MGM. Yeah. So MGM, for those who don't know, used to own the entire industry. They used to own Hollywood essentially. But over time, the rights were bought and sold, and Tim Turner Ted Turner bought the rights for a while and then ended up buying like the backlog for MGM, which he ultimately turned into Turner Classic Movies, which is one of the greatest gifts to cinema lovers around. A massive catalog of film just belonging to one guy, creating an entire TV like empire as a result of that. Ted Turner did a lot of good for media preservation. Um, I think the revival of the Looney Tunes has a lot to do with Ted Turner's investment in the Looney Tunes and Tex Avery and all that, um, which I think really helped a lot of people in the 90s and kids of the 80s, millennials really, get a strong love of classic entertainment that kids today just don't have. They don't have the avenue to watch these classic shows, and their parents might not be as invested in introducing them to anyway. You know, it's very unfortunate. I think, especially as a father, I'm noticing more and more that there is something very beneficial to giving your kid growing up an eclectic diet of media.
At Kanasha37 super chatted $2. WB's issues and debt go back to AOL merger I read.
Exactly, yeah. So when Warner Brothers merged with AOL and Time Warner and all that, that caused a lot of financial issues. That kind of saddled the company with a lot of debt. It was a horrible investment. They thought AOL was the future. You know, AOL was this powerful new kid in the block, and now AOL is a remnant. I think it technically still exists, but not really. You know what I mean? But yeah, do kids need to be brought up in media? Well, I'm talking about media diet. So what you show your kids influences their perspectives, right? If you show your kids slop and crap, that negatively affects them. It's like making sure they have a good diet, You don't give your kids like just chocolate all day. You give them like nutritious meals. And so if you give your kids slop to watch or slop to read, that encourages negative habits and perspectives. Find a better pairing than Warner Brothers and absolutely disastrous mergers. Oh, wait. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
At Andrew Brown 9981 super chatted $2. WB is the most cursed property to buy.
Yeah. Which is funny because Warner Brothers does have a great catalog of films. I think last year they unambiguously won the year in terms of how every film, if you watch it, did they come out? Were they good? Under Warner Brothers, every film they put out last year was really good. Superman, Sinners, Weapons. There's more I can think of, but they were consistently excellent movies that came out time and time again, and they did really well. So you look at that and you go, well, that's kind of strange. Amazon should buy Warner Brothers? No way. No, Amazon should not buy Warner Brothers. Amazon already has MGM or whatever's left of MGM. And yeah, no, we're not doing that. Not doing that. Lord of the Rings. Yeah, we're going to get to Lord of the Rings in a second. I do want to talk about Avengers Doomsday first. But yeah, let's talk about Avengers Doomsday real quick first before we get started. I'm going to bring the trailer up real quick. So I'm not sure if anyone else feels this way. But I have a lot of feelings on Avengers Doomsday as a trailer. I'm on one hand, let me bring my my Stream Later tab up here too. Get that in a second. With Netflix buying Warner Brothers. No, Netflix buying Warner Brothers would still be bad. Let me be honest with you. I don't think anyone should buy Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers should just be its own thing for right now. I think all options are bad for buying Warner Brothers.
At Mystic Mind Analysis super chatted $6.70. My nibblings loved Toy Story when they were little, but when my Sil tried to show them Disney's Aladdin, they asked, why is it flat?
That's what I'm talking about. You need that diverse perspective of taste. You need to diversify your kids' perspectives on media. They have to be shown different types of styles and stories and structures. I remember there was a while ago, I did a collab with Red from OSP. Very, very, very cool person. And she was saying how her family read a lot of like old myths and legends to her, and that's kind of fostered the enthusiasm for mythology and history, for more mythology and storytelling. And that's stuck in my head ever since, like with my son when he was very young, I'd pick up a book of old mythology and read it to him. Of course, he was like a few weeks old at that point, so none of it actually sank in. But you think those kinds of stories, they're relevant in history, they're relevant to human culture, and if you read them enough or to them enough times or give them enough of a perspective, that kind of enriches their cultural perspective and cultural understanding. When I was growing up, we watched black and white films, action films, romance films, period pieces, sci-fi, horror. We had an eclectic taste, and that eclectic taste, I think, really helps with your understanding of media. I mentioned this before with the Odyssey video that these chuds, they watch just the same kind of movie all the time. Ooh,
At Vispreni super chatted $4.86. As a leftist, what should I appreciate in LOTR culturally? Seems like it's real prone to epic fantasy conservative fetishism.
We're going to get to that shortly. There's a lot to love about Lord of the Rings, I think. It's an amazing work of fiction.
At Itsuboy 562 super chatted $3.07. I felt almost nothing from the Doomsday trailer. It felt like a kid crashing their action figures into each other. No substance or tension whatsoever.
So that's the thing too. I want to talk with Doomsday real quick. I did not love this trailer, but I'm also not disappointed by it, if that makes sense. This trailer shows us almost nothing about the movie. Like, we know characters are in it. We have a bunch of jackasses standing around in a circle. I'm glad we get to see the Fantastic Four again in a new kind of outfits. I love when we get the new Avengers, the Thunderbolts. Honestly, Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four especially has grown on me since I first saw it. I actually really like the Fantastic Four film. I watched it a few weeks ago, like late at night, and I'm watching it going like, wow, this movie is better than I remember it being. I think because we watched it right after Superman came out, and Superman was a really good movie, really good. And so by comparison, I think the two films wasn't a good double feature, because Fantastic Four feels lesser than Superman as a result.
At Andrew Brown 9981 super chatted $5. The Jonathan Hickman stories these two movies are based off of are about Reed Richards and Doctor Doom, and it seems they are not doing that story.
Yeah, I think they're loosely adapting it, very loosely, which is a shame, but also I get it. I get the change they got to do, but Reed Richards and Doom are like essential. I have heard rumor they want to bring Robert Downey Jr. Back after these films as Doom. I hope they do. I would love to see more Doom and him develop his rivalry with Richards more and more. But it is so frustrating because in many ways, these duology of films are going to be a reset for the MCU. Not a reboot, but a reset in some ways.
At Lotus Queen 38 super chatted $5. I'm a simple girl. I'm just going to see Doom Aura Farm.
Oh, 100%. This is your aura farming right here. This is the most aura from a MCU villain I've seen in a very long time. Absolutely fantastic. No doubt there. It's great. Love it. Can't wait for that. This is some good aura farming. Yeah.
At Thinavo3893 super chatted $5. I don't get why they get rid of their planned for Kong Dynasty. Couldn't they just recast Jonathan Majors? This is a character with thousands of variant.
They could, but the bigger issue is people didn't like Kang. That's the bigger thing too. People didn't like Kang. You can do so much. You can only polish a turd so much. If you're not digging the character, they're not going to want to see it. And especially after Quantumania, people were not feeling Kang. In part because they fucked it up. He just went. Kang loses in his first major role as a villain, and that's a bad setup. I know they had Immortus and all that, and Rama Tut and all that. What I would like to see is Kang show back up in like the X-Men films as like Ramatut for Apocalypse to take care of, you know? But I digress. Yeah, Kang is kind of beaten in the Loki series anyway, like you said before. Yeah, so it's kind of almost
At
anticlimactic.
Hans Gunk super chatted $5. I doubt they're going to do it, but I honestly would not mind if it's just a crazy coincidence that Doom looks like Stark.
That might end up being what it is. It's very funny because it's like, how exactly do you align that? And also, almost wonder, I almost wonder if they're not even going to address it, and they're just going to have like Doom's face be horribly scarred in some way under the mask, and just show it as like, here's what his face looks like, and it's not Robert Downey Jr.'s face; it's like a total deformed looking monstrosity. I can see them doing that to completely divorce it from Doom, and just have the same actor show up again. I also hope we get more villains. You know, I would like to see Magneto do some cool shit, and I like seeing. What I like in this trailer is we get a sense of, okay, the X-Men are here, the Fantastic Four are here. We get these classic characters. I love how like Reed Richards is holding back Sam Wilson with his arms. There's some bits here that could lead to some good character moments, but you also got to remember, because it's been years, the trailers for Infinity War were much the same way. Very vague.
At Lupin the Maelstrom super chatted $5. Between good faith YouTubers like Nando on Mario 2 and NerdSync on Doomsday, I think we need to retire the phrase, "You deserve better." Condescending.
I agree with that, and I think we also need to get rid of the phrase, "This movie's unnecessary." You know, a lot of movies are unnecessary, but they're still good. You know, the idea that a movie has to have some purpose to merit its value, I don't like that. A movie's a movie. Does it earn the value through the narrative itself and how it communicates to you? I don't think the word unnecessary fits into the equation, especially for corporate products. Because again, the MCU is ultimately a corporate product. It's a product of a corporation. And as such, it ties in with the corporate interests. If you look at the continuity, for example, of the Evil Dead films, of which the newest one just came out, you should watch it. Evil Dead 2013 is entirely unnecessary to the plot they're weaving in these movies. It's also one of the better Evil Dead. It's also a good movie. I wouldn't say the better Evil Dead movies. It might be a weaker entry, but they're all excellent. What did you think about Ridley Scott's Napoleon or Kingdom of Heaven? Oh, God. I have thoughts on Napoleon. I can't stand that movie. Kingdom of Heaven. Very good movie. Went in the director's cut. Napoleon's miserable.
At Minute Rice 19,540 super chatted $2. I doubt Doom can farm as much aura as Agamemnon.
It'd be different aura farming. Very different aura farming.
At Maryland 614 super chatted $1.98. Don't forget, who is this for? I'm guilty of this.
That one I don't hate as much, and I'll tell you why. It's important to consider your target audience at any moment. If you don't consider your target audience, you're going to miss out ultimately. There's a lot of importance regarding how, if you're addressing your target demographics intentions. And a good example of that, show of hands, who here has seen I Saw the TV Glow? Show of hands, who has seen I Saw the TV Glow? Also, I'm asking, would you consider those two films necessary? Yeah, they're necessary. They're art. It's art.
At Lupin the Maelstrom super chatted $5.
Yes,
Obviously, more films like Odyssey, Obsession, Weapons, etc. But sometimes I just want to escape and cherish what brings joy, even if it's not polished.
Oh, 100% I agree with that. There's tons of art like that. You know, there's so many good movies out there that aren't polished. They're just fun, superficial, entertaining. Yeah, no, I hear you on that one. That's why I like watching. That's why I'm excited for the new Highlander movie coming out. Yeah. So I Saw the TV Glow is a movie made with one audience in mind, that being trans people. If you're not trans, you're not going to get the most out of I Saw the TV Glow. And as a cis guy, I didn't get that same experience that so many trans people and trans friends of mine got when seeing that film. For them, it's almost a religious experience. For me, it's a really compelling horror movie that I can connect to, but I can't feel the same depth of emotion they felt just because I didn't live their experience.
@user_225_CCC super chatted $1.99. Obsession except Bear and Nikki are Shad and Ant.
Why do you want me to poop my pants? Waiting for Shad to come home.
@Silvereye 9327 super chatted $4.99. Going by the title, do you think we lost the Lord of the Rings books, along with the Peter Jackson movies, to the culture war because of Andy Serkis?
Complicated answer requires a complicated response. So let's dive right in, shall we? There's a lot of content to discuss. Got a whole bunch of videos here to discuss everything. So I'm going to end the poll here. So most of you guys have not seen I Saw the TV Glow, and that's a damn shame. You all should watch I Saw the TV Glow. It's fantastic. Super chat.
@It'sYaBoy 562 super chatted $6.14. I think I came across too negative in my last post. Russo bros make their trailers very light on plot, which is good, and they know how to juggle a big cast. Doom looks great too. It just seems shallow.
No, I'm with you on that one. It does seem shallow based on the trailer.
@MarkM1575 super chatted $5. Sorta related to tonight's topic, but have you seen Why Fascists Love Stories That Hate Them by Pride Brary? It's a good insight into their mindset.
Yes, I did. Fantastic video. Let me give a shout out to that video more appropriately. Let me bring it up on screen. 1 second. This is a great video. Obviously, I want you to watch my video first, but, Skinny Video is their defense video ad. Okay. I'll take a look at that some other time. Yeah, no, that was, yeah. So Pride Berry right here, fantastic video. You all need to watch it. It is excellent. It deserves all 210,000 views it's getting. Absolutely essential. Also, watch FD Signifier's newest video. It just came out on the video that's not about Candace Owens. You all should watch it. It's incredible and discusses a problem I've had with the space online discussing certain topics. It kind of ties in with what I was talking about on my YouTube post recently too, in a different perspective. That being performative activism and what ulterior intentions people might have for supporting causes that are seemingly beneficial for society. But yeah, this video, watch it. It's fantastic. 13 minutes long. Absolutely great. What? FD Signifier is great. I love FD. I know. I that's one thing I disagree with the Birdman on, because I know he's not like the FD Signifier stuff, but I really think his stuff is great. So I'll fight him on that one. Anyway, let's talk about Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis, of course, is a great actor, fantastic actor, not as great a director, I would say, but a fantastic actor who's pushed ahead who's proven that motion capture acting is just as difficult and just as powerful an art form as in-camera acting. However, he's made a few comments lately that are very concerning. And I am going to play some footage from a friend of the channel who also discussed this topic on one of her videos, but we'll get that in a second. So, Andy Serkis is currently directing the upcoming film The Hunt for Gollum, which is a spin-off of Lord of the Rings, takes place during the first film, essentially. And it's supposed to land in cinemas next year for Christmas. This is adapting an element from the books. This is from the books. Technically, it's also the terrible Gollum game, technically. Also investigates Gollum as a character, deep dives into that, which is all well and good. He will not be directing the next Lord of the Rings film that comes after, Shadows of the Past. It's going to be written by Stephen Colbert. I'm curious about that one. But now the BBC article has this important context. I'll get to this later, though. So, I'll read this whole section right here. I'm just going to read right from the article. Throughout, let me amp this up so you can see a little better. So it's a little easier on the eyes while streaming. Throughout his career, 62-year-old Serkis has been a campaigner for equality. In 2018, he said that being one of the few white actors in Black Panther gave him a new understanding of what it feels like to be the ethnic minority on a film set. However, the previous Lord of the Rings films, made before colorblind casting became common, had almost entirely white lineups, and so far, his film looks like being the same. Every major cast member announcement to date has been white. Jamie Dornan, Anya Taylor-Joy, Kate Winslet, Leah Woodall, as well as returning stars including Elijah Wood and Sir Ian McKellen. The question is, why? Serkis nods his head before answering, and it is clear this is a subject he has given a lot of thought. Tolkien himself was influenced a lot by Norse mythology. There's a lot of that feeling. The Shire feels very, very much like a very white, He tails off and pauses before continuing with greater certainty. They're not very concerned about what goes on beyond the border of the Shire, but they know they don't want people coming in. Yes, there have been criticisms, he says, acknowledging arguments that are now almost a quarter of a century old. This particular film is somewhat acknowledging that, but I don't think we will be doing a politically correct just casting for the sake of casting and ticking boxes version of the film. So it's where relevant, basically. Now further casting will be announced. And this comes off of Serkis's previous directorial film, Animal Farm. Now. Let's stop with that for a second, shall we? So, the specific phrasing. The Shire very, very much feels like a very white, Tolkien based his Shire off of the Britons, right? It's based on the average British pub people. The hobbits are meant to be the people who kind of keep their nose out of big affairs outside their village, but are very nosy in their village. The problem here is that none of this really is specifically white. The fact is that the reference to Norse mythology is also a bit of a red flag to me. As is Serkis's work recently outside of Lord of the Rings. I'm going to unzoom here for a second so you can zoom out a little bit. Now, let's take a look at Serkis's recent filmography, because you'll see what I'm talking about very quickly. Andy Serkis. Filmography now. Here, filmography. On the Wikipedia article here. Now, of course, he's going to be in Batman Part 2, and of course, he was in Animal Farm. However, and he was the voice of Null. But I want to draw attention right here to this role right here. As some of you might know, for those who, I guess, watch Dead Domain probably more than watching these films in theaters, he was recently in Young Washington as Edward Braddock in the 100-Year War, in the French-Indian War. You're probably wondering, what's Young Washington? Why should I care? Well, Young Washington is a movie released by, guess what it is? Angel Studios. Angel Studios is noteworthy also for releasing Andy Serkis' most recent film, Animal Farm, which I included a picture of him promoting the film in the thumbnail of this video. Now, Young Washington has a lot of actors in it, including Ben Kingsley, of all people, which is fascinating. Andy Serkis gets third billing in this film, above Kelsey Grammer. Now, the reason why this film is interesting is that the film incorporates a lot of AI shots. There is a substantial amount of AI in Young Washington. It's also a revisionist history of America, meant to be released during the 250th anniversary of America. And the film has some fans. There are a few fans of the movie. I'll present one. There were a few fans of Young Washington, including, well, there's no other way to say it.
Alone is enough to conjure up images of brave patriots standing up to tyranny and oppression, hard-won victories against superior...
Yeah, no, Critical Drinker loved Young Washington, which should tell you everything you need to know about this film's quality. Now, hang on a second. We'll get right back to that. The reason any of this matters is because Serkis is working increasingly with the highly conservative Angel Studios. Now, of course, Serkis, unlike a lot of people who work with these companies, has other work coming in. But it's undeniable that Serkis is aligned increasingly with the extremely conservative film studio Angel Studios. So this feels a little bit like hedging his bets a little bit, to an extent, trying not to piss too many people off. The other factor is this comment right here. Tolkien himself was influenced a lot by Norse mythology. That feels to me like some slightly dangerous rhetoric on top of everything else. Now, was Tolkien influenced by Norse mythology? Yeah, of course he was. He was also influenced by other folklores and works of fiction as well, including English history and Christianity. Umanita rules, thank you for 10 months. Isn't Will Jordan Scottish? Yes, he is. You know, a country that fought a long, bloody war of independence from Britain and lost. Yes, it is. Yes, he is. That is exactly what he is. But yeah, no. So to cite the Norse over the Catholicism, that seems odd to me, because Tolkien, while influenced by mythology and the Norse folklore, yeah, with elves and dwarves and all that, he was most influenced by Christianity, by his religious belief. And again, his experiences during World War I. So why bring up specifically Norse? It's very possible it's just an arbitrary choice and not a dog whistle. However, I can't help but think of another guy.
At MatcherLock9636 super chatted $5. I am so disappointed in Andy. I would expect him to be smarter than this. Or at least famous enough to be above having to stoop to Angel Studios.
I mean, it seems to me, unfortunately, like a lot of it has to do with his Animal Farm film that was a passion project for him, which sucks. But it's like, it is disappointing. It's very disappointing, I think. Especially because I think that Andy Serkis is smarter than this. I think he is trying to hedge his bets. That's what I really think it is. But the Norse mythology comment is what makes me pause the most, more than anything else, because it reminds me of someone very different. Someone very different who a lot of you guys will not know who he is. But some of you guys may. Who here knows who Varg Vikernes is? Who here recognizes Varg Vikernes? Does anyone know who he is? Show of hands. Type in 1 in chat if you know who Varg is. This photo is from when he was in prison, by the way. So, this should actually give you an idea. Okay. Varg Vikernes is he's a Norwegian musician, known most notably for being part of the Norwegian black metal scene. For those who don't know, and this requires a little bit of context for anyone who's not like a metalhead, Varg, the black metal scene in Norway back in the early 90s was insane. And by that I mean it was a bunch of stupid kids being stupid, edgy morons who decided to be as the most evil people imaginable, the most edgy and intense guys around. And so they each tried one-upping each other about how edgy and badass they were, and do increasingly crazy things. Problem is, they also welcomed genuinely dangerous people into their ranks.
At Wyatt Ahmed
like
5,747 super chatted $5. As time passes, I am more convinced that Drinker only gave Arcane a positive review to say he liked something woke.
Mm-hmm.
A very I have a black friend vibe.
That would make sense, honestly. I can see that.
At Maryland 614 super chatted $4.97. Patrick Stewart has proved that acting greats can still have some terrible tastes and choices. So I'm not so surprised by Serkis' decisions.
Actors are human ultimately. I think Stewart has tried doing more good than bad, I think.
At Nick Wolf
He's done a lot of good stuff.
3,885 super chatted $5. I miss when you could tell a film's quality regardless of politics. Unfortunately, with this and Civ Vig, films are just politic vehicles with no quality.
Yeah, it's a problem, unfortunately, when it's just political posturing.
At Gabe Missouri super chatted $10. I loved Serkis as Captain Haddock in Tintin. Which is why I was surprised that he was playing General Braddock, especially since the only other portrayal of him I'm aware of is from Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah, right? I mean, historically, it's just an odd character to choose to play, but what are you going to do? Especially a movie like Young Washington, which was just an AI slop fest. So, Varg... Now, I want to warn you right now, when we on our channel, when we talk about grifters, of which Varg is also a grifter, usually these people are harmless, Like, you can make fun of Critical Drinker all you want. He's not going to come to your house and, attack you. You know what I'm saying? He's ultimately a personality online. Varg is different.
At Matt Sherlock 9636 super chatted $5. I love Norse mythology. Al Ewing's Thor is one of my favorite current comic. I hate how it became a dog whistle for white nationalism D-bags.
Exactly. So, Varg is actually a criminal. He actually murdered someone. Specifically, he murdered lead singer or guitarist from Mayhem. Yeah, Euronymous. Yeah, guitarist. Sorry, I had to double check the Wikipedia article there. Who he was rivals with. So Varg was part of the single person band Bursum. Bursum may sound like some cool badass word. Bursum comes from Lord of the Rings. Bursum is part of the Black Speech from Lord of the Rings. He named his freaking band after freaking Lord of the Rings. And he was part of a movement among black metal people to burn down a bunch of churches across Norway. They would burn churches down as a proof of them being evil and vile and dangerous. Now, the band Mayhem kind of kicked off a lot of the black metal scene, and other people like Varg took what Mayhem was doing and went further with it. You can search this up on your own. I'm not going to look it up right now. Mayhem is ultimately famous for three things. A, Euronymous' album store, which was the headquarters essentially of all black metal stuff, which was sold in the basement of his grandma's house. Again, keep in mind, these were kids. These were these people were not old. Like when Varg went to jail, he was 94 or so. He would have been 21. You know, these guys are young, you know, very young. Euronymous ran a CD store, a vinyl store in Norway that sold black metal albums, you know, center of like all the edgy stuff in that time period. There was also Euronymous' murder at the hands of Varg Vikernes, where Euronymous was murdered in his apartment by Varg. And there was, of course, Dead. I think he was the drummer of Mayhem, if I recall correctly. Dead. Okay. Dead is pretty infamous in circles. Okay. How am I going to phrase this correctly? Dead believed he was dead. He genuinely believed he had died and was a reanimated corpse.
At Eustace Giwo super chatted $2. Is there a black metal band called Encalagon?
Oh, I
Thinking
wish.
face.
That'd be badass as hell. I'm sure it exists. It's too badass a concept not to have one. Yeah. So he had Codard syndrome. Thank you. Now he eventually took his own life, and Euronymous happened to find the body, and rather than immediately report it, took photos of the body and used it as those photos became the bootleg cover for one of their albums. If you really want to look it up, you can. It's easy to find. It's a very easy to find photo, but I do have to caution you against it because it is disturbing. Even Googling Mayhem, you might end up finding this photo, which is why I'm not Googling their names. You might just find the photo of Dead with his head blown open, just to an innocent Google search. So if you Google this, be careful, all right? You may stumble upon it by accident. If you've seen, gore online, it's not the most shocking, but be careful. It is disturbing information. But anyway, so Mayhem, Varg Vikernes, this is what happens when you allow the edgy, scary Norse white supremacist mythology.
At Jessi's D3 adds super chatted $2.
Like Varg
Nazis have a strange love for Norse mythology.
They do. They associate a lot with
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $5. Band, company names themselves after the beloved fictional word. We are the bad guys, don't be like me. From fantasy novel, Don't Be a Dick.
But that's literally what Varg did. It's almost literally what it is.
At Alexander Despiens Brassard 9109 super chatted $3.55. Serious. Not sure mentions of Norse influence in Lot R is automatically reference to niche Wodenism. Fun. I learned about Varg from Norwegian reggaeton.
Exactly. And I'm not saying it is a reference to that. That's the thing that's concerning. It's one of those things where it's like, it could be.
At Nick Wolf
It's probably
3885 super
it's
chatted
odd he said
$2. Goodbye monetization. Quick, send more super chats.
Basically, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, it's probably not that, but it is odd that he phrased it that way. Now, all right, so we have here, I took a video up right here. I'll look at that in a bit. Which was the one I wanted to find? Oh, here we go. So, friend of the channel, Jesse Gender, did a video talking about the same topic. I'm going to play a little bit of that right now. Not the whole thing. I do recommend you check out Jesse's video. But on Jesse's After Dark channel. But this is a segment from her podcast, Genre Friction. And I'll play it real quick.
Segment from my bi-weekly sci-fi podcast that I do with my friend Spotted Giraffe called Genre Friction. Please consider subscribing to the full podcast for more.
They discuss Andy Serkis here.
The last story that I really wanted to talk about today is some bullshit. So Andy Serkis, who many people may know as the actor who played Gollum in the Lord of the Rings franchise, he has spent the last few years becoming a director. And the last film he directed was the terrible Animal Farm animated movie that he
Oh my God, he directed that?
Yes, that was the movie that made not only it into like a kiddie movie with like a bunch of fart jokes, but also missed the complete anti-authoritarian.
Yeah, no, the Animal Farm movie was god awful, like genuinely, truly terrible. Gonna skip ahead a little bit because again, a lot of this will cover a lot of what we just talked about already. But let me skip ahead.
Oh my God, I'm so not the target
universe.
audience for this.
Oh yeah, no. It's a terrible movie. It was made with like AI. Ben Kingsley's in it too, weirdly enough.
Talking about young
yeah,
Washington.
I know, I was weirded out by that. But yeah, it's like an AI movie about George Washington where I think the end of the movie ends with Native Americans showing up to be like, you were destined to be the leader of America, George Washington.
Is he a vampire killer or no?
I mean, that would be fascinating. I mean, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was a fun...
Listen, if we get young Washington fighting vampires or zombies, could be good. Could be good. What is worse, Animal Farm or Napoleon? Oh, that's a tough one. Listen, Animal Farm is the worst film. I dislike Napoleon more. Okay. So, as much as Animal Farm is worse as a movie, as a story, Napoleon is more infuriating to me because it's just what it represents as a film. It really is the British trying to rewrite world history to make themselves feel better about themselves. It's the greatest example of the British trying to like colonize other cultures' histories, even if they are colonizers like the French. Because Napoleon was not as pathetic as that movie makes him out to be. It's very insulting.
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $5. The reason I like Al Ewing for a book is he punches Nazis in the first book and then keep punches them and their trillionaire boss in the other issues.
Love it. Love it. No. Al Ewing is a very underrated writer. I won't point that right now. Al Ewing, very underrated. His Venom story is pretty good. Freaking Immortal Hulk, absolutely fantastic. Al Ewing, vastly underrated as a creator. Just throwing that out there right now. But yeah, so let's take a look right here.
Fun movie. I liked that.
That
movie.
was a fun movie.
Yeah. Stupid as all hell, but fun. But yes,
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is also a very fun movie.
I haven't seen that. That had Matt Damon in it, or not Matt Damon, Matt Smith in it, right?
Nick Hodges from History Buffs is British, but he hates Ridley Scott's. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, because Nick Hodges actually has understanding of history and respects history. Nick Hodges, great creator also. I think he's one of the best historical movie reviewers on this website. When he says stuff, I tend to buy his opinion more than anyone else's because I think he backs up what he says with a lot of heavy research into history, like painstaking. But yeah.
Maybe
I think I had Matt Smith. I remember. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So he has been slowly, either by accident, I wouldn't say by accident, but like in complete, like, I'm a centrist, who cares? I will work for anybody sort of way.
People falling upward.
Yeah, not even he's falling downward, I would say, if you're working with Angel Studios, but like definitely being okay and comfortable with conservative folks. Anyways, he has also been cast to or hired to direct the new Lord of the Rings movie called Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum. So this is the Lord of the Rings movie that's sort of a prequel to the Lord of the Rings taking place after The Hobbit of Aragorn.
We know all this.
For me, it's always like nothing except that little voice in your head is telling you this is right. Like, there's just like, no, but that's how I feel. And I'm like, yeah, but historically, this is wrong.
Lupin the Maelstrom super chatted $5. Speaking of vampires, I actually saw Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter last week. It's campy fun. Also, somehow has more bite to it than Captain America 4.
Well, that's because all the vampires are biting and snipping. I like Abraham Lincoln Vampires. It's fun.
At Alexander Despiens Brassard 9109 super chatted $3.55. Best Al Ewing. Secret Avengers. Squirrel Girl smashing Hydra in France while screaming, Je suis la fille écureuil equals gold.
Look, Squirrel Girl, period. Always really good. Love Squirrel Girl. When you get a good Squirrel Girl comic, I'm in. One of the fun things about the Jubilee video, I got to reread some of the... it's not Squirrel Girl, it's AKA... it's the Hellcat comic. Has some similar vibes to the Squirrel Girl comics. I think they have a similar artist, I think. Very similar kind of mid-2000s Tumblr vibe. US Avengers, there we go. Dig that. We need a Squirrel Girl film. We almost got a Squirrel Girl film. We almost got the New Warriors back in the mid-2000s, but we never went anywhere with it, unfortunately. But anyway.
Logically, this is wrong. Literary, this
also,
is
like,
wrong.
Middle Earth is not... Middle Earth
Also,
isn't
Middle
real.
Earth doesn't exist. Also, you're part of a society.
Yep.
Also, your audience is not that. Like, I'm like, at one point, I'm tired of... I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I mean, I was just gonna... You're saying all the right... You're saying
tired
things.
of having to discuss this.
Mhm.
Because I feel, all the time people are like, but, there were black people in England at that time. But, we're always trying to take the facts and the science and talk to these people when at the end of the day, it's racism.
Mhm.
They know the facts. They
Yeah.
know it. They just don't want to do it. So
Yes.
at one point, I'm just like, I'm not going to watch a fucking movie. You know what?
Yeah. She's right. Entirely correct. That's the thing also. First off, Middle Earth isn't real. They were no elves, they were no hobbits, they were no dwarves. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. It's not real. But it's an arbitrary choice to include or not include people who are of other ethnicities. That's the only thing it is. And beyond all that, Lord of the Rings takes place in a multicultural world, doesn't it? And there are other cultures in Middle Earth that exist around that story. But that leads me to the other thing too, which I'm only going to show a brief clip of Jesse's vid, because I do recommend watching Jesse's vid. I don't want you to watch it here and not give Jesse the view. I think it's very important to watch what she's saying here. I think what's very important too is the obvious tie to the other Lord of the Rings show, Rings of Power. Now, Rings of Power has continue. Rings of Power has recently had a whole big thing, an empire. Why can't I ever just get over here? Sorry. Nothing ever cooperates right with me on this. Cool. So, Rings of Power Season 3. They're finally promoting it. Makes sense. We are... Oops, yep.
At MatcherLock9636 super chatted $5. Abraham Lincoln fighting blood-sucking parasites is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I guess there are vampires too, I guess. I love now many comic nerds are in this chat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I wonder if this is going to be the final season. I'm kind of feel like it should be. I don't know. Probably won't. I think it's like 5 seasons, right? They want to do? Okay, so November 11th it starts. So we're going to be getting new Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which itself was the subject of controversy from several grifters when it came out for its colorblind, diverse casting. I think this is a bit conspiracy theory-ish of me, but I can't help but wonder...
Every time I was...
what do you know? I can't help but wonder if Rings of Power inspired Andy Serkis to assure audiences it's not like Rings of Power. Because Rings of Power, the big criticism of it was its diverse casting from certain online groups. And I think it's important to remember that with a lot of these out-of-touch Hollywood types, they think that the online discourse is the only discourse that matters. It's not really the case. Most people don't give a shit about what movie talk or film talk is saying online. In fact, most film buffs don't really care what film talk is saying. This discussion is fun, it's engaging, it's great, but we can't pretend that we dictate pop culture, as seen by the right wing's attempt to dictate culture around the Odyssey. That's simply not how it works. The reality is the average film goer has a perspective based on brand recognition and the appealing nature of marketing and word of mouth. If it looks cool, that's what drives conversation. I guarantee you that more people on Film Talk were talking about, I don't know, fucking Supergirl than they were Obsession, leading up to Obsession's release. Look what film's the bigger hit. Now, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick. I'm going to give you a real break real quickly. But when we get back, we're going to watch some more reactions to The Rings of Power and conflate that to what Andy Serkis is saying, potentially because what he's saying may tie in with this old reaction. So, we'll be right back. One sip. We'll see you in a few seconds. Okay, give me a second, por favor. Cool. All right, I'm back. I am back. Abruptly shutting down the music. Oh, wow. Holy crud. We got a bunch of supers. Wow. Hang on. Wow. Holy crap. You got 20 gifted memberships. Oh my God. That's incredible. Congratulations, everyone who got a wonderful, listen, Pandemoni, round of applause, 20 gifted memberships. That's incredible. I'll be putting up a link to the Discord after this, so you can access my Discord afterwards. Chat, have a fun time, do all this cool stuff. We'll see how it goes. But wow, thank you so much. That is incredible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You people like you are miracle workers. Unfortunately, this now means we'll have to hear every single ding for every 20 of the members, but it's worth it because it's incredible. So also a couple of super chats. I think they were, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, I'm going to let that just go through as we do. Okay, we're currently... Oh, okay. It's going to take a little bit of time. That's fine. But yeah, no, so... Okay, sounds good to me. Let some of these play out. Now, I want to point out right now that we are currently getting a lot of... Yeah, so the question is Andy Serkis grifting? I don't know if he is, but I do think he is buckling to the interests of the culture war with his reaction. I don't know if I think he is siding with the culture war, but I think he's trying to market to them, presenting his film as an alternative to that diverse Rings of Power with all their political casting of non-essential roles as POCs. Angel Studios, though, is a total grifting show. Their overuse of AI is one example of that. Also worth noting, another actor did promote Young Washington when it was coming out, that being Chris Pratt. Though if you're shocked by that, I have a bridge to sell you. I have a bridge to sell you if you're shocked that Chris Pratt was supporting Young Washington, considering everything else. Yeah, almost done with the cool. We're almost through. But it's unfortunate, it is unfortunate because, Serkis was in Black Panther. He was he was the best white actor in Black Panther. He's done a lot of movies about minorities revolting against the superior class, like with Planet of the Apes. But what you find is a lot of these types are able to divorce reality from all that.
At Pandamani super chatted $5. The Black Elves and Black Dwarves whining was giving me a Black Stormtrooper flashbacks.
Yep. Very similar to that, I agree.
At Jasonuity super
Andor
chatted
also, yeah.
$3.51. What do you think the impact will be when LOTR becomes public domain?
I'm hoping we get some cool stuff and not just a bunch of sleazy horror movie and porn parodies. By the way, a couple super chats came out when I was away, and it looks like they didn't get read just now. Zypher8677 says, Rings of Power has tons of problems. Casting is not one of them. I agree. There's a ton of problems. And the other one is from Matt Sherlock 9636. After the Gollum game, why do they keep trying to make Gollum happen? No one has a Gollum written down as their favorite Lord of the Rings
At the Wave
character.
Runner super chatted $2.
You'd be surprised.
Remember, you can parry meme on Serkis in E33.
That's true. Also, hi Wave, how's it going? Yeah, parry meme in Expedition 33. 100% do that, please. Knock him off his butt. But yeah, no. So I think Serkis is catering to the grifters who are intensely obsessed with Rings of Power. That's my theory. I have no proof of this. It's just based on vibes. But the vibe I'm getting is that Andy Serkis wants to market his Gollum film to a new audience because it's the first Lord of the Rings project to hit the screens since Rings of Power came out. And he wants to say, no, I'm not like Rings of Power. We don't have diverse casting. But he wants to do it in a way to kind of navigate around the controversy. He wants to avoid saying woke casting. But, and again, let's be honest, they are British directors who did colorblind casting way before Lord of the Rings came out. And a great example of that is, of course, here you go. So, I'm going to show you a cast from a film from the 90s that had color-blind casting. Oop, super chat coming in.
At MatSherlock9636 super chatted $5. I hope the success of the Odyssey leads to more quality historical, mythological, and fantasy films. I want to see a non-Marvel Thor movie like Odyssey.
I would love that too. Genuinely, I authentically hope we get more epic films like that. Anyway, here's a film from the 90s made by British director Kenneth Branagh. Now, one of these actors looks very different from the others. Of course, you got Kenneth Branagh with his then wife, before he cheated on her, Emma Thompson. You got Kate Beckinsale, and you got in the far left of the screen Keanu Reeves. But there's an actor right here who looks very different from the rest of them, and that's because it's Denzel Washington. That's right. Denzel himself was in this movie, Much Ado About Nothing, an adaptation of the Shakespeare play Much Ado About Nothing. Now, for those who have not seen this rendition of Much Ado About Nothing, which you should, it's fantastic. I think this and the David Tennant one are pretty great. It's not Othello. No, this is one of his comedies, Shakespeare's comedies. Now, right here, Denzel is brothers with Keanu Reeves. So Keanu Reeves and Denzel in this story are brothers. And they never acknowledge the obvious. It doesn't matter. We're moving on. We're doing the movie. It's one of the greatest adaptations of Shakespeare, in my opinion. I'm being full on this one. I fucking love this movie. It is amazing. If it's on TV,
At
I'm
Eustace
watching
Giwo
it.
super chatted $10. An historically accurate young Washington would be entertaining. Watch as nepotism gets a grossly unqualified and incompetent young Washington a commission and command he leads straight into defeat.
You see, that's why historical films are sometimes better when they're faithful to history than when they take deviations. Agreed. Yeah, no. So this is one of the best Shakespeare adaptations. But you know what? One director said, I'm going to do a Much Ado About Nothing movie decades after this one. I'm going to make it so much better than that stupid Kenneth Branagh film, and I'm going to be American about it. I'm going to make an American Much Ado About Nothing. And here's the cast for the American Much Ado About Nothing that I am alluding to. Here it is. Tell me if you notice something.
At MatcherLock9636 super chatted $2. Denzel for Odin in the Thor in a Dress movie.
Yes, do it. Do it, Washington. Do it, Hollywood. Notice anything distinct about this particular cast of actors and a certain director who was popular for being a feminist who turned out to be a serial assaulter who directed one of the highest grossing movies of all time and then was exposed for being a creep behind the scenes? Can't imagine that happening multiple times in history. But anyway, yeah, so Joss Whedon's Much Ado About Nothing came out after the Avengers. It is distinctly less diverse than what we were doing 20 years prior. Basically. This was 20 years before this.
At
Somehow,
Nick Wolf
diverse casting was
3885
controversial at that
super
time.
chatted $5. Saw the movie with a bunch of theater kids who snarked on the brother casting. This being the Keanu sucks era. Whereas I was, who cares, movie fun.
Exactly. It's a good movie. Honestly, the best actor in that film is freaking Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton just shows up and steals. But then again, like in the Joss Whedon one, that's the same character is the best one. I think it was from Firefly. Guy Gardner. Castle. Slither. He's the best actor in the Joss Whedon one. Because Nathan Fillion, thank you. Yeah, so they play this the fool archetype in both versions, and they're the best actor in the movie. They're just the best one. They're just better than everyone else in that movie. Just a great character. But that being said, though, Emma Thompson, you want to talk about someone dropping the fucking ball in life? Kenneth Branagh cheating on Emma Thompson and missing out on one of the most brilliant, intelligent, beautiful women in cinema history. How do you fuck that up, man? How do you fuck that up? like famously, I think he cheated on her with, of all people, Helena Bonham Carter, which is wild. Like how do you drop the ball that badly? Yeah, these outfits are great. No, Kenneth Branagh Shakespeare films are fantastic. Kenneth Branagh, for all of his faults as a person, one of the most entertaining directors. Even when his films are bad, like his Frankenstein film, I think is pretty bad. They are some of the most entertaining movies you can imagine. They're so bombastic and over the top. His Hamlet film is fantastic. I love that.
At Pandamani super chatted $5. Denzel was my favorite Macbeth in 2021. I saw comments outrages at him being cast as a fictional version of a historical Scottish king.
Like, how can you be mad about that? He was fantastic. Man, my big issue is he was older than Macbeth. That's about
it. At Mark M. 1575 super chatted $2. A fumble worthy of Moz Jimmy Olsen.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you on that one. He's really fumbling it this season. He's fumbling it bad this season. Oh, terrible. I feel like he's been under the oblivious spell. Yeah, basically. I loved it. Yeah, his Hamlet is fantastic. And I will say this too. Wave. I have a soft spot for Patrick Stewart Macbeth. Yes, that Macbeth is also fantastic. But if you want another Patrick Stewart production that's really good, David Tennant's Hamlet, where Patrick Stewart plays Claudius, also great. Patrick Stewart plays a great villain. He doesn't play a villain often, but when he's a villain, it's fantastic. And if we're going off of the X-Men stuff from before, if you want to see a really good Richard III, Ian McKellen's Richard III, fantastic. Also, Ian McKellen's King Lear,
at Matcherlock 9636 super chatted $2. I like Brannon's Thor movie. Wish he made more.
Mm-hmm. In fact, Kenneth Branagh's colorblind tendencies play into Thor as well. The casting of Heimdall, that's a Kenneth Branagh move. Ultimately, really. I mean, it was the casting director, but it was still like in his production. That's emblematic of, honestly, some of the best casting in the MCU comes from Thor. Some of the best actors of the role.
At user_225_CCC super chatted $1.99. I liked Ben-Hur 1959 a lot. More epics, please.
Well, hopefully we get more epics. I love epics. Epics are great. Especially
at Nick Wolf
historical
3885 super chatted $5. Kenneth Branagh also made on the better Disney live-action remakes and Cinderella, if only for the sense of style. Just wish Tremaine were more evil.
Cinderella is underrated. Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella is one of the few live-action Disney films to be really good. I think that's one of the better ones. I think, but again, it's also Cinderella. Actually, chat, do you want a real good recommendation for a Cinderella retelling that came out last year? I got an adaptation for you. 1 second. Let me see if you can find it. Okay, image that's not too. Okay, you ready for this one? Okay, I got one for you. Okay.
At Matcherlock 9636 super chatted $2. Ken was made to make swashbuckler adventure movies.
100%. Okay, I got a movie rec for you. All right. If you want to watch a really good Cinderella adaptation, other than Ever After, which is also amazing and a classic, 90s classic, Ugly Stepsister from last year. This movie is, if you ever felt that the substance needed to be brought into Cinderella, here's your movie. Super fucked up, super twisted. Academy Award nominated, though, adaptation of Cinderella that is grotesque beyond all measure. There are some visuals in this film that are so disgusting and so repulsive, It draws very heavily from the Grimm's fairy tale Cinderella, where, if you know how that story goes, the wicked stepmother takes some disturbing means to make sure her daughter's feet fit in the glass slipper. It's taken to that extent even further. It is grotesque, vile, a nasty, cruel little movie, and it's great. Beautiful, very cinematic, very gorgeous to look at, while also being very ugly. Again, a lot like The Substance. Oh yeah, no, there's some disfiguring in this, like grotesque disfiguring. It is horrifying, but it's a damn good movie. Body horror is one of those genres that I think is great. I think back to the scenes that stick with me the most, it's body horror every time.
At Hans Gonk super chatted $10. I'm not worried about the right gaining LOTR in the culture war. They have always tried, and TTRPGs are usually progressive, and who doesn't know D&Ds and other TTRPGs by extension, roots in Tolkien.
Exactly. So this kind of comes in. Let's take this comment back because it's an anchor away from Ugly Stepsister and back into Cinderella. So I want to point out before I give my opinion to the question of the title, did we lose Lord of the Rings: The Culture War? I do have an answer to that question, and I think if you know me, you know the answer already. I want to look at what they've been doing up until now with Lord of the Rings. The reaction. This video is by It's a Gundam. This video has over 500,000 views, like 643,000. We're going to watch a bit of it. And it's not so much to dunk on this guy, because I know people think that I've been seeing an increasing amount of people think that like criticizing someone else's drama, that's not, no. So we'll get to that. This guy's evil. That's what I've heard too. I've never really watched It's a Gundam too often. I've seen like one video, I think, on stream once in the past, and it didn't do much for me. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's go with this.
It's like, okay, take a breath, something new would happen, and it was
It's Middle Earth, there's never peace, right?
If, like, Sauron is hot, I feel like people will be like, I can fix him.
That's apparently bad. Okay.
Lord of the Rings, not to be confused with the successful porn franchise, Lord of the Rings. Though at this point, Amazon's adaptation is doing to the...
Was that a joke? Was that supposed to be funny? Huh.
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $5. Oh, imagine this, Ken direct a Disney Robin Hood remake, with by the Zootopia team, or even better, Cartoon Saloon. That would be awesome.
You know, I'm missing Alex Myers. Can we go back to Alex Myers? I'm sorry, I chose this video. I should have watched it ahead of time. Okay, watch RM Brown, views equal news. That's that one. Okay.
The fan base, what Ramington Steele was doing to the Elf Queen. I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan. In fact, everything I know about Lord of the Rings stems from the movies and Led Zeppelin songs.
What? Then why the fuck are you talking about Lord of the Rings?
June 20th, Amazon announced the new Lord of the Rings show in the worst way possible by having modern-day Lex Luthor, aka Jeff Bezos, posing coquettishly over the official poster that looked like a stained piece of wood. Lord of the Rings fans soon stained their pants. With that come-hither stare that only Jeff could give, he said, I'm going to f*** your childhood.
At WizZelane super chatted $1.99. His voice reminds me of Mooscapade Game Grumps vid. At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $2. Can we go back to praising Ken and the Odyssey?
Yeah, I'm feeling that actually. This one hurts me. I'm not gonna lie. This is There's something about this guy that irritates me more than usual with these kinds of guys. God. Like, okay, chat, and I'm not trying to be mean here. Did anyone else cringe, like, on a soul level with this video so far? Are we all kind of feeling the same vibe? This is just deeply unfunny and deeply desperate hate mongering. Are we on the same page?
At Zypher 8677 super chatted $2. You've made your bed, and now lie in it. Lol.
I can switch videos. I don't have to watch this one. This is bad. Oh, this is annoying. Like, here's the thing. I don't want to make fun of people. I don't like making fun of people, but like, there's something about the way certain people make jokes that makes me question if words can be funny anymore. Like I'm not trying to be mean, but when some people make jokes, I kind of question if the concept of humor exists. I question if there was ever a funny joke to begin with. That if I ever found something funny at all. And then I remember an old comment I once heard. I had to steal a joke from the late, great Walter Matthau. There's 3 guys, and they're sitting around on a bench just chatting. And the first guy, they're all old men, goes, I wish I could have a great number 1. It's all drips and drabs and sprays, but I want to have a full-blown number 1. And the second guy goes, I know what you mean. I wish I could have a great number 2, It all stuck up there. It doesn't come down. I feel the pressure build every day. It comes in and like pits and pats and farts and spits, but it never comes out fully. And the third guy goes, finish the joke when he comes back.
At Wyatt Ahmedin 5747 super chatted $20. If we want epic movies back, then we're all sleeping on Laika.
Yes.
Just rewatched Cubo and the 2 Strings and it's still amazing. I always thought they would make a killer Zelda movie. Can't wait for Wild Woods.
They'd be incredible doing Zelda. So anyway, the third guy comes around and goes, at 7:30 every day, I have a fantastic number 1. It comes out like Niagara Falls, pouring down, forming a river basin in my little bowl. And at 7:30, forming a river basin. At 7:35 on the dot, I have a fantastic number 2. It comes out fully. And the other 2 guys are going like, well, what are you complaining about? I get out of bed at 9. Walter Matthau told it better. Anyway. So, the live-action Zelda is not animated, but it would be fantastic for Zelda. Genuinely fantastic. Anyway. Walter Matthau is better than I am at telling jokes. But even then, there's at least a joke there.
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $2. I don't like seeing you cringe. You don't have to.
No, I know. Anyway, so let's go back to Andy Serkis here. So Sky News had a video titled Andy Serkis praised for rejecting political correct casting in new Lord of the Rings film. Who's praising him? Okay, same thing we just saw before. Come on. Okay, Olivia Williams, Purple Fairy, thank you for being a member for 12 months. Me, I want some A Song of Ice and Fire adaptation Castlevania style. Hell yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay, so let's see some praise that Sky News is citing here. Social media users praised Serkis' remarks and respected the director's decision to stick to the source material. Okay, so Sky News is already framing this as sticking to the source material, when that's not really the case. Because the characters being introduced are not from the source material. These are original characters. So it's like, what's sticking to source material? They never said they were any black dwarves. and also, these are all original characters, the new ones. They're not from... Anyway. Okay. Nerd Cognito. Andy Serkis is doing the right thing, rejecting diversity casting. Rejecting diversity casting push for the new Lord of the Rings movie. Sticking to Tolkien's source material instead of forcing progressive racism through DEI quotas is what Hollywood needs. Authenticity over ideology. Tolkien smiles. So I want to ask, what exactly do you mean? Tolkien never specified it was only white people in Middle-earth. Like, what are we doing here? Also, this is I want to point out, Sky News is an outlet. It's a major outlet. What are we doing quoting some random-ass guy on Twitter?
At Eustace Giwo super chatted $5. How can someone blow criticizing both Bezos and Rings of Power? So badly, so fast? That was painful grimace.
Yeah. Watch Hello Future Me's criticisms of Rings of Power. Those are actually really
At
good.
Matcherlock9636 super chatted $5. Maybe we can just turn this into a pitch video on awesome epics we would like to see and not have to listen to Sky News aka Fox News but British.
So far, this is worse than Fox because they're quoting random-ass Twitter users. Who else they cite? Okay, here's the next one. Endymion? Fucking Endymion was cited in this shit? Endymion? Really? That guy? Okay. Andy Serkis defends new Lord of the Rings movie being predominantly white in casting, and the BBC is not happy about it. I say good on him for defending it. Don't care who that offends either, by the way. Endymion, you melted down when the Magic the Gathering cards revealed that they had like diverse appearances of their characters in their Magic set. That's the thing too with Lord of the Rings. We've gotten a lot of different interpretations of the characters that, quite frankly, after the initial backlash from these racists, no one gives a shit about. No one really gives a shit about the casting of black elves or black dwarves in Rings of Power. They care more that the show is not very good. That's the bigger issue. Not terrible, mind you, but not that first season especially was rough. But even then. Endymion being cited in a major news outlet. Between this and the Critical Drinker Neurotic being on Piers Morgan, which, by the way, both have appeared on Piers Morgan multiple times over the years. I want to point it out right now. Many times.
At Mark M1575 super chatted $2. Endymion's greatest contribution is gay venom.
Gay venom is one of the greatest contributions Endymion has ever provided in this world. I am so happy Crimes New Roman showed me that. God, Noah, thank you so much. Not that Noah, the other Noah. Crimes Noah.
At Itsuboy 562 super chatted $3.07. It's really telling with these people that their interpretation of a fantasy world is a place where only people who look like them exist.
Yeah, right. Wait a second, that's it? Just two posts? It was just two guys? Just two random assholes? That's who you cite in your fucking news report? Two dumbasses? That's the only thing? It wasn't Endymion?
At Olivia _Williams _purple _fairy super chatted $1.98. I suspect Nerdcognito is Nerdrotic alt account.
Their incognito account? Yeah, exactly.
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $2. Who still takes Elon's Twitter seriously in 2026?
Very traditional media who has not realized that Twitter is now a useless hellscape of stupidity and bots, basically.
At user_225_CCC super chatted $1.99. Realized Ant looks like Michael Cera with glasses.
I don't know if to be insulted or not, but I'll take this as a compliment, hopefully. But I love here they try attacking the Odyssey in the process. Look at this. Unlike the latest Lord of the Rings movie, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey has faced huge backlash over its diverse cast. And look how that film suffered, guys. Look how that backfired on the Odyssey, right? What did that movie make? What's the box office results on that one? I'm sure the Odyssey is doing terrible. Oh, one of the highest grossing weeks in 2026. Oh, guess I misread that one. Jesus Christ. I've never really paid attention to Sky News before. I know it's like British conservative, but like this is bad. This is a bad report. Nolan recently blasted the film's criticism as irrelevant, with many taking issue with the hiring of Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy. And it was irrelevant. The film is highly successful. No one gives a shit.
About this woeful Odyssey film.
Oh God, I knew we couldn't escape this for
At
too long.
Naturlock9636 super chatted $2. Not even quotes from famous dipsticks like Elon.
Exactly. Let's get someone noteworthy, not Endymion.
At Mark M1575 super chatted $5. You lefties are just crying and coping that you're the woke to see is flopping hard at the box office. Seriously, how do grifters function like this?
I don't even know. That's why I can't do that crap. It's just too... It's just too pathetic, you know? And again, let's look at this for a second, right? Let's really look at this. Endymion has a decent following, right? You know, decently large following. But, like, he's a giant crybaby. Like, he can't even... I love how he coped over the friggin' Odyssey too, but, like, you know, basically couldn't respond to when the movie got it. And look, here's the thing. It's not about drama. The Odyssey... Hang on, what the fuck? The Odyssey fans call for the critical drinker to be destroyed? What? What the fuck? Hang on a second. What? No one wants... What the fuck are you talking about, you fucking weirdo? Okay. I'm sorry. Besides, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted. Let's take a look at this. I gotta know. Well, what's the...
Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is almost here, and I can already tell it's going to set off 1 billion atom bombs when it drops when it comes to the online discourse surrounding movies. Like Supergirl, which I'll get into later on, the problem is firmly being laid not on Hollywood, but instead YouTubers. The critical drinker, nerdrotic, anyone who really speaks out against these mega entertainment media products, it's not the movie's fault, it's ours actually. At least that's how the media is spinning it. As Wired here says, The Odyssey is sparking right-wing backlash. Oh, is that what we're calling it now? Coincidentally, these sorts of articles started appearing once people like the critical drinker spoke about the movie as well.
Yeah, because he's a right-winger. Like, what's the problem here? Yeah, it's causing right-wing backlash. The critical drinker's right-wing. Where's the lie? You know, like, where's the deception here? Come on.
Well, Drinker actually dropped a video.
At Itsuboy 562 super chatted $3.07. Do you think the massive chud misfire for the Odyssey will have any lasting impact on tanking the reps of grifters? Or will it stay more of the same?
It'll stay the same. I'm going to explain this very simply. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. because they rely purely on never accepting blame. It's the Roy Cohn model that Trump adopted. Keep attacking, never stop to reflect, keep attacking. If you keep attacking, they can never stop to question you about your previous failures. But if you keep attacking, there's a new target to redirect your attention to. You can't focus on how this failed when there's something new to attack. And so I think it won't have any impact whatsoever regarding their core audience. But they may have less pull outside of it.
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $5. How do they live like this? Grifter are cynical liars who don't actually believe in anything. The words they say are just noises that generate money.
Exactly. Like, and here's the thing too. So obviously people will tell you, like, when you engage in discourse online about movies and movies and details like that, they'll kind of blur the line between media discourse and drama, which are very different things. But this is more drama. This is more of a drama post because it's not really about the specific argument so far. It's about people targeting YouTubers over a movie. It's meant to make you feel genuinely like people are out to get you. That's the function of this. And that's genuinely dangerous. That's genuinely dangerous to do. Because this is internet discourse over movies. We are talking about, ultimately, movies. No one's in danger. No one's livelihoods are being hurt. You know what happens if you have a bad take about a movie? People move the fuck on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've had bad takes before. I'll keep having bad takes. But, if you keep doing what you do and you're good at it, people will get over it, Even the critical drinker. Obviously, it's part of the grift. It's part of a movement. But, like, general audiences, if they're sticking with a critic, they'll move past it. They can live through it. What this does, though, is it implies that there's an actual war against your takes, that they actually wish harm on you. And Endymion is blurring the line between material harm inflicted by discussions on the internet with criticizing a movie, which ages poorly when that movie comes out and it's good and genuinely well liked.
Video recently, as seen here, where he spoke about the Odyssey and the problems that people have with the movie's entire concept. Of course, this did not go over well whatsoever with a lot of people on Twitter or even the media, because to speak out against the Odyssey or really anything Hollywood is pushing these days is akin to sacrilege for them. But again, like this user here who retweeted someone telling the drinker to F off, saying all anyone is focusing on.
Yeah. So right there, you're looking at an account on Twitter and you're acting as though that's people genuinely wanting to hurt people. It's some random person online saying a pretty reasonable statement that Elliot Page is barely in the movie. Because he's barely in the movie. And we knew this before it even came out because his character is not major in the Odyssey.
On as Elliot Page being in the Odyssey, and therefore this means that all backlash is unwarranted. Cool. I like how we can just sweep all this neatly and tidy like into a single pile as if it's.
It was a lot of stupidity over nothing.
At Racerk45 super chatted $5. People should bring Endymion on for a debate and challenge him on his takes.
Hey, listen, people have criticized me for not debating the people I criticize on here. I have multiple times offered people to have debates. And outside of Tactical Templar, they've all turned me down. And Kinoflex, which, Kinoflex will not hesitate on any occasion to engage with any critic whatsoever. But the point is that this is dangerous rhetoric for Endymion to engage in. This is dangerous.
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $2. They don't understand the themes of the Odyssey.
They don't at all. Not in the least.
At the Waverunner super chatted $5. They think them not liking a movie, piece of media justifies harassment, so they assume any criticism they get is an actual threat.
You know, Wave, you're 100% correct on that one. Yeah, 100%. They think of it as an actual
At Olivia
threat.
_Williams_purple_fairy super chatted $1.98. Sign-on isn't even in the Odyssey, but in the Aeneid.
Exactly. Oh God, it makes me think of something else. So I see skitties on here, on the side of this. God, should I mention this fucking Octorok thing? This stupid fucking thing. Okay, I've been seeing this post a few times. So let me show you this post right here from Octorok Reviews, who's an account that I've been seeing a lot on my feed recently. Thanks to the skitty bitty drama. This is a common sentiment among right-wingers right here. And this, I posted this on Blue Sky, and I got like a bunch of people responding. Even I think Jesse Gender even responded to this. The Odyssey absolutely belongs to the West, according to Octorok Reviews, who apparently has been in league with a lot of other accounts on YouTube. YouTuber himself. It's a foundational work of my people's literature. My people's literature. Are you Greek? The Aeneid, which Nolan took some influence from in his adaptation, was literally created to explain the mythological origin for my ancestors, the Romans. As an Italian, as well, go fuck yourself, Octorok. The Odyssey belongs to the West, just as Journey to the West belongs to the East. It's a story that resonates with others across the globe, and they are more than welcome to love it, adapt it, and even criticize it as they please. But it belongs to the common heritage of the West just as much as democracy and the rule of law do. To deny this fact is to deny reality itself. And this is in response to someone saying, the Odyssey does not belong to the West, you fucking cretin. Jesus Christ. I have had so many fucking people in my mentions say, no, Octorok's not a racist. The rule of law. Tell me, Octorok, you ever hear of Hammurabi? You ever hear of... Now, granted, democracy, in some capacity, was originally conceived in some fashion in Athens. However, that does not mean that democracy as a concept is inherently Western. Yeah, no. So this is what they believe. They believe that Western civilization is at stake. And Western civilization apparently is challenged when someone from the West hires actors all from the West to portray characters from the West. What actor is it exactly that's not part of Western civilization that Octorok is so upset by, and that Endymion is so upset by, and that Critical Drinker is so upset by? Could it have to do with the actor who is from Africa, which is a part of the West as well, and thus inherently part of Western culture, including, if you have read the Odyssey, Ethiopia, which is translated to Ethiopia, which translates to the city of burnt faces, is in the Odyssey. Who is this guy? Another grifter. That's all that matters. Anyway, back to Endymion.
It's nothing, apparently. Here's another user saying the Odyssey might have issues, but none of it will have to do with Elliot Page. Therefore, the drinker is now wrong. Thank you, random Twitter user with a rainbow in your username. Very cool. Or how about this post attacking drinker saying chuds like him are going to milk the Odyssey with bait while the movie does well in theaters. So now we're calling anyone we don't like chuds. Is that how this now works? Interesting. Look, nobody is denying that the...
No, he's a chud because he's a chud. Like, come on. All of this is funnier, in hindsight especially, because the Odyssey was a massive hit. Like, it was an unambiguously gigantic hit. And so all of this bullshit goes the same place. If you just ignore the chuds and make your movie, the movie's good. If you make it good. I said this before, the reason why Supergirl did not do well is because it's a niche superhero, or a lesser known superhero. The movie didn't appeal visually to audiences. It didn't show anyone. I promise you, if Supergirl had a visual aesthetic more like the comic, with more brighter colors, more dynamic visuals, Oh, at least 20 million more opening weekend, guaranteed. Because it would have been more visually interesting and thus looked like a different film. As it stands, it doesn't stand out enough and therefore doesn't stand out enough. Didn't work. Sorry, that's life. That's why Supergirl didn't work out. The Odyssey, however, had a distinct visual style, had Nolan's name attached, and was adapting a great story and had great actors all throughout the whole film. I'm sorry, but, again, name actors do help sometimes. If you have enough of them in a Nolan production. Because Nolan has had a track record of success. DC, unfortunately, has not had a track record of success yet. This is why Avengers Doomsday is doing really good in pre-sales, and Spider-Man No Way Home is doing really well in pre-sales, but DC's still getting the learning ropes. They don't have the brand recognition to comment to average audiences yet. To cinema fans, they have a different reputation, but the average moviegoer trusts Marvel more than DC, even after Marvel's fuck-ups. Outside of Superman, Spider-Man, better brand recognition. The Avengers, better brand recognition. Supergirl, not as much brand recognition. That's the reality of it. The Odyssey has brand recognition, and therefore it sells. Obsession is distinct from anything else being made in film right now, has a unique voice, that gets attention, and has great word of mouth. Obsession is a rarity, and that it did better as time went on, as opposed to doing all of its big money in the first weekend. Brand New Day is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the most recognizable hero, period, by a mile. The point is, everyone involved in 1492. Oh God, that movie was bad. I forgot about 1492. That's a bad one.
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $5. The race swaps and the transness of Sinon also furthers the themes of objectification of women and the growing cruelty to outsiders as signs of decay.
Yeah. Those cruelty, that element of cruelty is a sign of the collapse. Yeah. Because bigotry is a problem, ultimately speaking. Anyway, back to this.
Odyssey is going to do well in theaters. It's a Christopher Nolan movie with a star-studded AAA cast. The likelihood it doesn't do well at the box office was never actually the issue here. I've even said in previous videos about this movie that it would still make a ton of money because it is Christopher Nolan. I get that. That's not the point. Then again, money made by a movie doesn't exactly equal to that movie suddenly being good, and we all know that.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. As it got closer, the narrative shifted. They kept saying in thumbnails, it's going to flop, it's going to be bad. But they're like, well, Nolan's a good director. He's going to get money. But, it doesn't we don't have a point. Like, you don't have a point, buddy.
Ant-Man movies made hundreds of millions of dollars. Doesn't mean they're exactly amazing pieces of cinema. Somehow there's multiple Jumanji movies starring The Rock and Kevin Hart. Doesn't mean they're great movies, but does it even matter? Not really. They still make hundreds of millions of dollars. Quality was never really the issue here, because clearly when it comes to movies, sometimes all it takes is insert this actor here and money machine.
But now it's out. We know it's good. Oh, holy crap. Thank you so much.
At DeVavalensky6327 super chatted $49.99.
Wow, thank you so much for the super chat. It's incredible.
The Cinema Snob reviewed a movie from the early 80s called Fooling Around, starring Gary Busey. It's filmed in my hometown Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. I didn't even know about this movie under yesterday. It's funny to see the differences.
That's always wild when you know where a movie's filmed. I'll give you an example. First off, thank you so much for the super chat. That's incredible. I've never seen Fooling Around with Gary Busey, but there are some movies I've seen that were filmed in northern New Jersey, right? And one example of it, it's a movie called Christmas Evil, filmed up in northern New Jersey. And there's some locations I'm familiar with to some extent. And like outside the New York City area, basically. And you look at that and you go, wow, that I know where that was filmed. The movie, there's a bunch of movies filmed in New Jersey, actually, North Jersey. And when you realize it, you're like, oh wow, I know that location. It's been years. That's funny how that looks. You look at what's an example of one? Oh, of course, like Friday the 13th, right? It takes place in a New Jersey camp. I've been to that camp. I've been to that area, you know. There is a lot of them. A lot of movies that exist there. It's incredible. It is incredible. Wait, In Praise of Shadows? Oh, is In Praise of Shadows in here? Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith. Oh, yeah, Kevin Smith, exactly. Oh, yeah, I know people have been to Kevin Smith's store. It's fun. Christmas Evil. Yeah, great. Great movie. Insane ending. Absolutely insane ending, Christmas Evil. Love it.
At Matt Sherlock
Essential Christmas film.
9636 super chatted $10. Helen and her family are treated as property. Sign-on is a disposable of that hypocrisy, of treating people like dirt. The Bronze Age collapses around them as hospitality is no longer sacred.
Exactly. One thing I like about the Odyssey is it is kind of an end of an era story. Those are, well, again, so is Lord of the Rings, isn't it? Lord of the Rings and Odyssey, in this case, they're end of era stories where they kind of signal the collapse of what was once a high age of civility, quote unquote. And, Tolkien believed in a concept called the long defeat. That history was ultimately one long defeat, where at every point, every battle, every war, it's brought you down from the heights of what came before. So the first age of Tolkien's Middle-earth is this glorious age of gods and monsters. It's epic, it's grandiose. Second age, smaller, after the defeat of Morgoth. Then Sauron's defeated. Second age ends, third age begins. And becomes this kind of sense of a gradual decay of civilization until we get to our present day, where there's no magic at all, and we're just all driven by industry. And Tolkien's view of history is cynical, yes, but it's compelling. And I feel like it is derivative of reality in some ways, where we do have this sense of history as one long defeat, where over time we do lose a sense of who we are as a civilization from its peak. But it also plays into a lot of elements of white supremacist thought, because a lot of people will talk about the Roman Empire and say, oh, why did Rome fall? Well, it fell for a number of reasons that are complicated and difficult. But you got a lot of people who oversimplify and go, oh, it was because they allowed degeneracy into their ranks. When no, that's not really the case. There was always degeneracy. There was always perversion. That was always a factor. The fall of Rome is political. It's due to other cultures becoming stronger. It's due to Rome dividing itself multiple times, first in a three-way civil war, then between East and West Rome, and then Western Rome fell. Eastern Rome lived on for another 1,000 years. The Byzantine Empire didn't call themselves Byzantiums. They called themselves Romans. They saw themselves as descendants of Rome. And that was overtaken by the Ottomans eventually. 1,000 years later. If degeneracy was the reason why the Roman Empire fell, why did the Byzantine Empire survive for so long? If there was the same level of degeneracy. It has nothing to do with it. There's also a plague, the bubonic plague ravaged Rome for a very long time during the years 300 AD. That was a big factor, And so the model of history as in any form that relies on some pattern of a failure to behave properly, that does play into some beliefs that are stereotypical, but it is it makes for a good story. It does not make for a good model in history, is what I'm going off of. It's a companion film. It's a companion film to Oppenheimer. Yeah, I'd say so. Oppenheimer is also a strip at the end of days, essentially, the end of civilization, that being the end of the era before the atomic bomb existed. Yeah. Both the French and Holy Roman Empire believed to be a continuation of Rome. Yeah, that's also true. What's his name? Oh, I'm trying to blank on his name. The first Holy Roman Empire. With the Paladins and all that. Crud. C. Not Cervantes. It was Charlemagne. Yeah, Charlemagne, for example, saw himself as the descendant of the Roman Empire. Yeah.
machine go boom pretty much. The problem has always been about authenticity, but, they'll say, the Odyssey is a mythology. It's not real. Ah, how beautifully specific something like that can be when it suddenly doesn't apply to your way of thinking. The reason why users are attacking Drinker, well, it's because people like this speak for the common.
No one mentioned Drinker in that article. Drinker made a video. People respond to that video. Like, look, here's the thing. I'll argue with critics sometimes, but that has nothing to do with the fact that I think I shouldn't be criticized. If you make content online, you're subject to criticism. That's how it is. Look, if you make something, that could be criticized, especially if you make something charged, right? I make charged content. I talk about things that are very political. I talk about things that are very motivated with certain ideologies. And I get pushback from it, from people who don't agree with me. Tough shit, you know? The only thing I'll push back on is labeling as drama when it's not. That's the only thing I'll argue with you on that, but you have every right to argue against it. And I have every right to say you're wrong, you know? That's how it is. If Drinker is making a statement about a film that is politically charged, and it is, people have the right to respond. That's why I can't stand by this bullshit. Like, they act as though they're the only ones who get criticized on the internet. They're the only ones. But they ignore the fact they were criticizing everyone else beforehand. They started the argument, and now other people are responding to them. Don't cry to us that you can't finish the argument you started. You fucking started it years ago. Like, come the fuck on, man. I don't have any pity for someone like this. I really don't. Because, like, they started these arguments, and now they're upset people disagree with them. And even then, these aren't even harsh arguments. They're pretty mild, honestly. I've gotten worse today than any of these you just showcased. Like, fucking grow up. It's the internet. Yeah, argue with them, sure. You can fight back. You can make a disagreement. That's fine. Call them liars if they're lying, but they're not lying. They have a different opinion. It's not like they're saying you're lying. They're saying they disagree with you. They think you're wrong. That's different. Thank you so much there, Brandon Nail, for 5 gifted members. I'm going to have to really post the Discord after this to make sure I'll get on there. Thank you so much. You guys have been really generous tonight with donations. I deeply appreciate that. Thank you so much. But yeah, no. So people who have a political perspective make political art and have political opinions. And by doing that, you open the door to disagreement. That's life. I have never said anything, ever, without the expectation that someone would respond to it. And I've been mentally prepared to deal with that response. Hell, I was getting fucking pushback when I first started this channel. That's just life, man. You know? No one is saying anything to Drinker that you've showcased so far in Endymion that argues they want to destroy the Drinker.
At Racerk45 super chatted $5. Ant, did you see the Piers Morgan roundtable featuring Drinker and Nerdrotic?
Not only did I see it, I have referenced it just recently in my most recent video. Right here. Yeah, I actually referenced it right around, I think 21 minutes in here. Yeah, right around here. This is going to be a surreal experience. Watch myself on screen while streaming. Some YouTubers, like Literature Devil here, tried to argue the problem with Prey even after its release. Right in here, yeah, right around this point. And it was until even this week that grifters like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic were grifting. They went on Piers Morgan to talk about this shit, for God's sakes.
But it's fantasy grounded in the real world. It's set within...
Yeah, so if you want to see my thoughts on the Piers Morgan interview, watch that. I did truncate it a lot. It's like a 40-minute interview. I want to get the good bits, but like, there's a lot in that interview. There's a lot I didn't include that was like, you know, yeah, no, Lit Devil sucks. Lit Devil's so annoying. Anyway, back to this. Sorry, I want to see what the supposed destroying of Critical Drinker is here.
And man, well, these types, especially these websites, do not, and they know that. Originally, the websites were at least supposed to be the great equalizers here, meant to critique the institution.
What are you fucking talking about, you weirdo?
At
Sorry.
Devavalensky 6327
thank you.
super chatted
That's very generous of you.
$19.99. I had a problem with someone's social media trying to compare Bear from Obsession and the boyfriend from Midsummer.
Oh.
There's no comparison to me. One wanted a relationship, the one wanted to end a relationship.
Yeah, there's no connection. And the thing also with Midsummer that's interesting, and I think there's a lot to discuss there. I'll let the super chat play and then I'll go into the topic because that's actually a lot of interesting
At
stuff there.
Matcherlock9636 super chatted $5. Nolan Odyssey is more cyclical than Tolkien. We fall, we rise. Fall and forget, we move on to try again. Is very American, we can do better the next time.
Yeah. Well, whereas Tolkien saw history as a gradual decline, which is more cynical than I think the American model, which is rising and falling. But to address Midsummer, because that's a good point. Midsummer is about a very toxic relationship where both parties are toxic. You know, even though I forget the main character's names in Midsummer, but even though she has a deeply tragic situation and the boyfriend is clearly, you know, a shitty boyfriend, who's very selfish and very self-serving, there are multiple parts in that relationship where both parties should just break up with the other person. Like they both should break up. They're not good for each other. And they both cling to each other, even though Demi and Christian, thank you. So, you know, Danny and Christian. Danny should just break up with Christian, like from the start. Neither of them are fucking happy, but they're both in that situation where they're both miserable and neither wants to leave the other person officially. They're both too I mean, Danny ultimately is the one who ends that relationship very effectively, but Danny sending Christian in the bear costume to like burn to death is not an optimistic ending. Like, it plays up as her feeling a sense of triumph, and she's smiling at the end, but she's being dragged into a white supremacist cult. Like, that's very deliberate. It's a very deliberate white supremacist cult that she's being dragged into. And that's bad. It's not good. Also, don't forget that Christian was drugged and assaulted. That was pretty fucking horrible. And how the cult manipulates Danny into thinking that her boyfriend is cheating on her, when the real problem is the boyfriend's a jackass. Like, the boyfriend's a jackass, but like, he's not as bad as Bear. Bear is actively malicious. Christian's a moron. I gotta rewatch it again. I might be missing some details, but he feels more like a shitty boyfriend, whereas Bear is actively a terrible, irredeemably bad person. And I think that's very distinct. Both are excellent films. Both have interesting discussions to have about it. But Midsummer is more about a deeply toxic relationship that is destructive and awful. Whereas, and actually it's ironic, is Christian's the one who has his free will taken away in that story because he's drugged and assaulted. Yeah, bad person versus bad boyfriend is a great example. And don't get me wrong, Christian fucking sucks. He's a terrible person. But like, Bear is another level of awful person.
At Andrew Brown 9981 super chatted $5. We need an adaptation Trolleus and Cressida to see how the grifters react where everyone is a selfish idiot.
Yes, more selfish idiot stories. I'm down for that. But The Last Duel was kind of a selfish story about selfish characters, remember correctly. It's been a while since I've seen it, but that didn't really get viewed all that much. No one really wanted to see The Last Duel, which is a shame because it's a decent movie. Is it all right to not be into that movie? Yeah, you don't have to like fucking Midsummer or Obsession. You don't have to like any of these movies. Listen, you can dislike a film. Like, I wanted in my review of Obsession, of The Odyssey, to showcase you can dislike a film. Another reviewer who I respect a lot, who also didn't like The Odyssey as much as everyone else, was Stoobs. Anyone know Stoobs on TikTok? Yeah, she had a review of The Odyssey that was also kind of not like mixed, not negative, but mixed. where she pointed out some things like much like Princess Weeks, but because it was so many talking points were similar to the Princess Weeks video, I didn't include it. But I was considering that, putting it in as a secondary review to discuss. Yeah, personal gripes with the movie as a Greek, but I hate that the takes I present / believe are legitimate got used by the culture war / anti-woke side detracts from. Yeah, so if you're Greek and you have issues with that film, more power to you. Unfortunately, a lot of the talking points got appropriated by the grifter war nonsense because it justified their arguments, And that's what sucks about the online discourse. If you present a point that is legitimate and fair, there is always a chance someone else will take what you say and selfishly twist it for their intentions. And it sucks. It's really cruel. Walter White is a saint. Okay. Yeah. If your point is these are the reasons I don't like this film instead of these movies' success is the downfall of society. Yeah, exactly. You can discuss not liking a movie just fine in good faith. That's entirely legitimate. And I do that all the time. But when you act like it's the downfall of civilization, that's where things get problematic. I want to see what he has to say about this because now I'm kind of just getting sucked in here.
Institutions that make things in order to ensure.
Chat.
At Reika Ninja 4843 super chatted $1.47. I like how the Odyssey is a 3-hour stage play.
Yes, more dialogue and character focus. I love that. Less moving from scene to scene.
At the Waverner super chatted $2. I like to call it the Last Jedi effect.
You're correct on that one, Wave. It is the Last Jedi effect because since the Last Jedi, they've been trying to make every film the Last Jedi in terms of that culture war high, Like guys like Mahler and Critical Drinker, they only became successful because of the Last Jedi backlash, and that's it. So,
said things that do get made stay on the right path in line with what those audiences want. Unfortunately, those websites have now become indistinguishable from the very Hollywood that they were made to critique. They are nothing more than mouthpieces now. They're just meant to...
The websites aren't conscious. The fuck you talking about? Like, Endymion, Twitter is filled with people who respond and talk. The websites themselves are not conscious. They don't have an intention. The user base responds. And is he seriously trying to argue that Twitter is too left-wing? Fucking Twitter? Jesus Christ.
Parrot and protect the monolith instead of actually keeping it honest. This is why your YouTubers exist, because someone has to be the vanguard that stands between the stupidity, and for me, Drinker especially is that vanguard when it comes to something like pop culture. He's a big reason why I even have a YouTube channel in the first place. He's definitely influenced how I made my content since day one. So seeing these types attack him because why exactly? He speaks for people is bad? Oh really? That's what we're doing now. As Wired said here in their word salad that's on screen, Lupita Nyong'o is getting unceremoniously bashed with criticism from the evil YouTubers and content creators on Twitter.
Hang on, let's read what it says. The confirmation of her casting in May kicked off another wave of conniption fits. One YouTuber seemed to seriously suggest that the nation of Greece should file a lawsuit against Nolan. On what grounds exactly? Helen of Troy rocketed up the trending topics on X, with the website's trillionaire owner claiming that Nolan has lost his integrity and has desecrated the Odyssey so that he would be eligible for an Academy Award. Such a feverish reaction to the idea of a fantastical ancient queen being played by a black actress has become grimly predictable. History, literature, and even completely made-up myths have become fodder for reactionaries, cranks, and amateur historian content. That has nothing to do with what you just said, Indeed.
At Armanita Rules super chatted $1.99. Nah, Threads is leftist Twitter. Blue Sky too.
Exactly. More so Blue Sky. But the point is, Endymion saying like, they're attacking the Critical Drinker in this article when they spend more time talking about Elon Musk and the very website you're criticizing as the source of the problem. Like, Endymion, at least be honest with what you're showing on screen. We can read it.
Because something the Odyssey should represent everyone equally apparently. But like Drinker said in his...
But it's not about the Drinker, it's about Elon Musk mostly.
At Matt Sherlock 9636 super chatted $2. That is AC Odyssey. I thought it was woke trash.
Of course it is, but they forget that it's woke trash after it comes out because they actually don't believe what they say. That's why people always ask like, oh, how do you know they're grifting? Well, this is how. Because after the grift ends... they'll just play the gameplay footage and be fine with it.
This video, all those types are hating on, he brings up the fact that conveniently, this level
At Bernard_CK super chatted $5. Endymion and his ilk have effectively become mainstream, but cave into the pressure of being in a larger spotlight.
Yeah, no, Endymion was cited on Sky News, like a major news outlet. This guy is who they're referencing as a source of information, a finger on the pulse, so to speak. And he's crying about people on Twitter disagreeing with the drinker in a 25-minute video.
Of backpedaling and protection only happens when stories that originated from white European countries are suddenly transformed into these modern-day slot machines instead. We never...
It's one actor, you dumbass. 2 actors, come on.
See stories from Africa, or really any other part of the world, getting the modern audience diversity quota chain splashed all over them. It is only ever the European ones, because it's by design. Like for...
I'm sorry. Did we forget a few movies? Only the European ones. Well, hang on a second. If I may. If I may bring up a few examples real quick here. Let's start with Exhibit A, shall we? Let's take a second here. There's a movie. You might have heard of it before, maybe once or twice. It's called... we got a good photo of this right here. Yes, okay, perfect. Let me show you an example of an African myth reappropriated by European directors. Right here. It's called Gods of Egypt. You'll ever see Gods of Egypt? As you can see, there are no black actors in this film that takes place in Egypt. No Egyptian actors in this main shot of the main actors. I believe Chadwick Boseman is in the movie as like a minor character, but that's about it. It's otherwise almost entirely white actors in an Egyptian film. European actors in an Egyptian film. But let's keep going. Let's look at this movie right here. This is another one right here. Let's take a look at the cast for this. Oh, yes, this looks good. Bring this one up. New image. This one right here. Let's take a look right here. This is Exodus, Gods and Kings. It's another movie starring Christian Bale and Joel Edgerton as Moses and Ramesses. Also, yes, most of the cast is also white, playing Egyptians and, Middle Eastern characters. What did you think it was going to be? What did you think was going to happen? Only European myths, though, of course. I mean, what am I talking about? That's silly. But what else is there? Another example, let's say, of a movie recently that came out where an actor who is not not white, was played by a white actor. What movie is this? Oh, yeah, this one right here. This is an odd example, isn't it? Let's see right here. Let's bring up this one. There's a good image right here. Yeah, here's another movie that came out just this year that featured some whitewashing. It's called Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights. Whenever anyone says that they'll do the opposite, when they whitewash a role played for a darker actor, they'll criticize it too. These guys were fucking silent when Wuthering Heights came out. Not a fucking peep. Live action Ghost in the Shell also, good example. Japanese movie, whitewashed. Avatar: The Last Airbender, whitewashed back in 2010. 21, whitewashed. We can go down the list. It's actually really easy. So yeah. That was my video. So yeah, Endymion, you are factually wrong. Not even slightly, you're completely wrong.
At Pandamani super chatted $5.
Yeah, exactly.
They made Clash of the Titans twice, both times with Andromeda, Princess of Ethiopia and love interest of Perseus, played by white actresses.
Oh yeah, exactly. Whitewash there too. Both times. Yeah, big deal. Yeah, they don't care about that though.
For example, when it came to British royalty such as Anne Boleyn, all I have to do is flash this photo here on screen with various versions of Anne Boleyn's story that has been told already, and you can immediately tell which one of these depictions was done by Netflix.
Yeah, so one version of Anne Boleyn was black. When did it actually come out? Because I actually never saw what you're talking about there. Also, it wasn't... Also, it wasn't made by Netflix. It was made by Channel 5. It's a British production. So, like... Okay. This came out when? 2021. This White Anne Boleyn was 2021. So... almost half a decade ago at this point. Meanwhile, Wuthering Heights came out this year and whitewashed Heathcliff, the main character. Now, do I think necessarily that colorblind casting of a historical figure is a good idea? I don't think it matters all that much. I think I disagree with the choice because it's a historical person who should look a certain way based on history. However, I also don't think anyone cares that a Channel 5 miniseries one time cast Anne Boleyn as black. Once. Like I don't think most people care about Black Cleopatra. The average person, I guarantee, hasn't fucking heard of these. These are low-profile productions. Even though they did change it, you gotta ask the question, does this really matter? Now, Clash of the Titans, huge production, major production, lots of money behind it. Wuthering Heights, massive production, headline tentpole film. Gods of Egypt, huge example, where everyone's white. One actor was cast as black. And you haven't shut up about it ever since. Even on that the Piers Morgan video, they were rambling about that. It's like, come on. Hamilton did the same thing. You know? Like it's not always relevant.
I wonder which one it is. Oh right, it's this Anne Boleyn here, where it's an actress who looks about as much like Anne Boleyn that I look like Lupita Nyong'o myself. You see, this sort of nonsense is
The difference is Anne Boleyn's a historical figure. Helen of Troy is not. Helen of Troy is a figure from a story. She probably didn't exist because, shockingly, and I know Endymion is stunned by this, most women do not emerge from swan eggs. I know, I'm shocked too.
Everywhere. And again, it's only ever in one direction, and we know it. For example...
No, it's not. We literally have an example of an actor who's whitewashing a character this year in Wuthering Heights.
As seen here, you have Himesh Patel. He's an Indian actor. He's also playing the right-hand man to Matt Damon's Odysseus in the movie,
and he was fucking good.
That makes sense. No, it's fine. There's absolutely been Greek people named Himesh Patel, guys. Come on, what are you doing? You're being
The ancient Greeks did in fact travel as far as India. They knew India existed.
Problematic? What, you wanted proper, authentic portrayals? In a movie written by white people? What are you, crazy? You sound like Elon Musk now. And we have to not like Elon because, well, that's what the media tells us to do because, well, we don't know why exactly. But
no, we know why. We have many reasons not to like Elon Musk. That's not that. Listen, Elon Musk gives us a lot of reasons to dislike him. It's not hard to find one. It's very easy, in fact, to find reasons not to like Elon Musk. Yeah. Also, yeah, Patel's closer to ancient Greek than Matt Damon is. Like, come on. Yeah. Elon Musk is very easy to hate. It's very easy to dislike Elon Musk. Guaranteed. But that's the culture war. You know, it's bullshit, ultimately. Now, I want to take a step back here and ask the question. Here we go. Let's ask. So let's fall back on the Lord of the Rings thing. This is a video from Yellow Flash. And I'm going to go real quick here to see his perspective, because his videos are much like his inspiration to quartering. He reads off of articles. So I want to get to his opinion here.
But that's like putting your career on the line right now, casting like a bunch of white people in a movie. Frodo, everybody needs to be black. Literally Magic. I think Magic released Lord of the Rings Magic cards. And they race swapped characters for no reason. And if you said anything about it, of course, you are a bit.
Okay, so let's take a step back here. One second, let me knock off some of these tabs. It's getting too many of these tabs. I don't need.
It's not.
Oh God, was I going to dive into? Was I going to do this one? I don't think I need this one. I was going to watch a Sargon of Akkad video.
What about Rings of Power?
We don't need to do that to you guys. That's not necessary.
The original Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece. And it starts as a masterpiece. A writer who's writing about Judeo-Christian morality and Western civilization.
And I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings, actually. But it's because I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings that I'm not going to watch Amazon's version of it.
So the thing is, the right loves Lord of the Rings, even though it goes against all their beliefs. But you know who also who also loved Lord of the Rings? The Nazis. Or at least they liked The Hobbit. The Nazis famously believed that Tolkien was kind of on their side because of the way he incorporated dwarves in Lord of the Rings. Tolkien very famously heard that the German Nazi Party was in favor of how he depicted his dwarves, and very famously made a statement in support of the Jewish people. Because Tolkien knew, even back in the 40s, 30s and 40s, that racists could appropriate the iconography and ideas of Lord of the Rings and use it to fuel their own bigotries. And he rejected that. While he didn't have any ancestry that was Jewish, he deeply respected the Jewish people. Now, I want to point out something here. This is also pre-Israel, so take that as you will. And again, Jewish people are not the country of Israel. And so anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are two different things. Just point that right there in chat. But Tolkien understood that bigots would take his work and twist them to justify their own bigotries. This is in part why, no matter what anyone does in any film, Lord of the Rings will never become subject to the culture war. Lord of the Rings is not something that can be subjected and twisted by the bullshit that is the culture war. Because the culture war is, as I have mentioned multiple times in the past, absolute nonsense. We do not fight the culture war. We present the culture war as being absurd. Because the culture war is not something we fight in. That is bullshit. We fight against the very concept of the culture war. Because if you look at it from a culture war perspective, that's not what it is. Industry is driven not by culture conflicts, it's driven by capitalist interest. Movie studios act because they believe they can pay someone a certain rate to make more money for them. Artists are driven by belief. Companies are driven by money. And the big push, that you see in society, it's because a company signed off on it because the executives on top felt this will make us money. Do you know why a lot of these companies fuel the controversy? Because it makes them money. I would not give a shit about an Anne Boleyn TV show, but now I know it exists from Channel 5, even though I don't have Channel 5 because that's a British channel. These companies do it to make money. If you understand the basics of capitalism, you understand why all this happens. They do it for the cash. That's it. There's no attempt to hate on white people. The people doing it are white. Do you think black people own BET? No, it's white people. White people own BET. They own all the industry. Except for friggin' Medea. Tyler Perry. So having like Tyler Perry, it's all owned by white people. Because they own everything. Telemundo, yeah, that too. I think Telemundo is also owned by white people too. Like not even like Spanish people. Yeah, Tyler Perry. So so that's a big thing too. Ownership is conducted by those who see this and go, how can we make more money? Disney pulled back on diversity because they felt they'd make less money. I guarantee the moment the culture shifts another way, it'll all go back again because Disney likes making money.
Hermanita Rules super chatted $4.99. The culture war is designed to distract everyone from the real issues of the world.
Exactly, which is industry owning everything. That's why the Paramount Warner Brothers merger is more significant to the film industry than whether or not Lord of the Rings has white people in it. But you should criticize these choices because industry notices what you say. If you push against it, they will change because they want to make money and get your money specifically. And Tyler Perry isn't even a great person. Right, you are. Tyler Perry's a really terrible person, actually. From what allegedly, Tyler Perry has a lot of bad things he's done. So there you go. So we have to consider, with all things, the root cause of any decision is if a company wants to make money as a result. Artists will be forced to change their plans because the company wants to make money. Look at Elio. Look at Elio. That film was completely rewritten by Disney, and I think for the worse as a result, because they wanted to make money and felt that by stealing the heart of the movie and ripping it out and reshuffling all ideas and forcing to rechange everything, it'll make them more money. As it turned out, it did not make them more money.
At Nick Wolf 3,885 super chatted $5. In times like this, these attitudes remind me of one line from one Mr. Lickboot of the Tom and Jerry movie from the 90s. We've got to have Monier.
We've got to have money. Freaking Tony J with that voice
At Evil
is so
Kitty
damn
13
good.
super chatted $2. Grifters just want their power fantasy.
Exactly, they do. Also, yeah, if you grew up in the 90s and you heard like a really terrifying villain voice, it was probably Tony J. Or you were watching Twins. That's a surreal thing. When you go back and watch Twins and you hear the scientist at the beginning, it's like, is that fucking Frollo? Is the
At
scientist
MR
guy?
Solar Sun 7,174 super chatted $2. Anthony, are you a socialist?
I would say more democratic socialist on that front, but I digress. Anyway, the point is that when you look at all this stuff, you see the root cause is the industry, the business that decides these things. That's what it ultimately is. That's the choices made. The reality simply is that, but I should also say, I don't really align with any political perspective particularly. I should mention that right now. Anyway, point is, the reality simply is this. What was I going to say? I was on something. I was going to say something intelligent. There you go. So, the reality simply is that any decision made in culture is not made by the culture. It's made by the industry. And the industry reacts based on capitalist investment.
At Lupin the Maelstrom super chatted $2. Or My Stepmother's an Alien, re Tony J.
Oh yeah, no. Man, Tony J was fascinating. He was an interesting character. Tim Curry, also a great villain. Also a great villain. Tim Curry is awesome. That is so sad what happened with Tim Curry with the stroke. And what stinks also is, actually what really stinks, in hindsight especially, is that one of his last live action starring roles was the Muppet movie, Muppet Treasure Island. He mostly did voiceover from there on out, but like still, I don't know. People are funded by people hiding from Thomas Edison's patents. Yeah. Money drove. The reason why Hollywood is where it is because of Thomas Jefferson's patents. They all ran the upside the country to avoid the patents. Yeah, Tim Curry's great. Tim Curry has a great voice. I was just watching the other day. Speaking of a good critic, because I gotta talk about talent. It's supposed to be all negative all the time. I was watching Dead Meat's review of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Great freaking movie, first off. Just seeing them talk about that was it really got you in the mood to watch Rocky Horror. But it's not streaming for free anywhere. It's all you have to pay money to watch it, which sucks. I love Rocky Horror. It'll come back when it's like Halloween time. I know that, but still, love Rocky Horror. Great musical. I did a whole video on Rocky Horror and its legacy back a ways, and as much as I criticized it, I still love Rocky Horror.
3,885 super chatted $2. Remember the Mighty Duck cartoon with Curry and Jay?
Jesus Christ, what a great combination. I forgot about that one. Yeah, no, I remember that cartoon. That was a wild connection, too. Again, two of the voices. You get to get Mark Hamill in. Was Mark Hamill in there also? That'd be like basically the three voices of bad guys from like 90s cartoons all in one place. AMC went in theaters and do all. Yeah, no, I'm down for watching it in theaters. I haven't gone to the theaters to see Rocky Horror. I've only watched it in private. I have to go in. Anyway. Michael Caine. Yeah, Michael Caine and Tim Curry are the two ways to do a Muppet film. Michael Caine plays it straight. Tim Curry plays like a Muppet. I love that. Yeah.
At MR Solar Sun 7,174 super chatted $20. In response to Andy Serkis' recent comments regarding Lord of the Rings and whiteness, do you believe it is okay if a piece of media has only white people, or do all pieces of media need at least some diversity?
I don't know. Okay. Let me, that's a tough one.
At Petite Flower 5259 super chatted $5. Your Rocky Horror video is how I found your channel.
No kidding. It's really cool. I love that. I always felt that video, I feel like with some videos you go back to them and go, I could have done that one better. I think that's one I wish I could have done a little better, but because it was such a complicated topic, I think. But I'm glad that was how you found my channel. I'm really happy about that. Okay, to answer your question, though, from before, I don't think all films need to have necessarily like a super diverse cast, but I come from like the greater New York City area, right? New Jersey, New York City. You encounter diversity, like you just in your day-to-day life. I've been always around people who are different. So for me, the default is, oh yeah, of course there's Asian people, Black people, Indian people, Latino people, Latinx, like they're all over the place. They're all over the place. So like, it's just a default for me when I'm in an area that's only white people. I actually get uncomfortable. I was traveling once, and I went to a town south of here, and everyone was white, and I couldn't figure out why I was uncomfortable at first. I was like, something's off here. I don't know what it is. And I realized like a couple hours in, everyone was fucking white, like super white, like blonde hair and like white. And I'm like, wow, this is discomforting. I'm actually uncomfortable here. Even when I was traveling in England at one point, there was a lot of areas that were white, purely white. But then I went to other places that was diverse. And I felt more comfortable there. Freaking Oxford had more Black people in it than the villages in England. Yeah, there's some parts of the country that are very, very white, and that makes me deeply uncomfortable. I get uncomfortable there. I prefer different people. I like it when there's a variety of people around. I think it's neat. I think it's good. It's good to have different perspectives and different viewpoints and different backgrounds in one location. So yeah, there you go. That's my answer to that question. I think if you're not being diverse, you actually have to justify that more than if you are being diverse. Diversity should be the default. But if you're avoiding diversity, I gotta know why. Is it a small cast? That's one thing. But even something like fucking Event Horizon has a pretty diverse cast, and that was in the 90s. So it's like there's a lot of diverse films out there that you just take for granted they're diverse, Event Horizon's one, Alien, that's another one. It's just a default. So if you're avoiding diversity, my question is, why are you avoiding diversity? Why are we not doing it? What is stopping you from having it? And your excuse can't just be, oh, well, it's Norse. That's not an excuse. It's just that's an excuse. It's not an explanation. It's one of those things where why isn't it? You made the world this way. If it's a fantasy world, especially, you created it this way. So why'd you choose that? And I fall back a lot. Oh yeah, Sam Neill or Event Horizon. Exactly. That's why it's been on my mind a lot. That movie. It was on the other day on one of the Roku channels. I was watching it. Fun movie. I was thinking back to Ursula K. Le Guin, who I reference constantly. Le Guin, very famously, when writing the Earthsea novels, was actually opposing the more stereotypically white stories, like what Tolkien wrote. In theory, of course. Even though Tolkien drew from Jewish folklore, he was very white-centric. That's not mean we have to follow in their footsteps. And indeed, with Ursula K. Le Guin, she wrote stories that were very different.
At Nick Wolf 3885 super chatted $2. Kaiba, it's called Gods of Egypt. Why are they white?
Exactly. Why are they white? Why are they white in Gods of Egypt?
At Media Breakdown 8963 super chatted $4.99. LOTR could stand in for whiteness in a way through Aragorn. He is literally undoing the harm of his ancestors, fixing problems he didn't cause.
Exactly. And, listen, works like Narnia did include diverse people, though I would say they fell back on a few racist tropes in that process. But, an adaptation can still even the waters there. And even the Peter Jackson Tolkien films still had to reckon with the racist implications of certain elements of Tolkien. And that's expected because Lord of the Rings was written several decades ago. It's not intentional. I think Tolkien tried to do the best he could with his work. His whole work is about diverse people coming together for a common cause. You have elves, dwarves, hobbits, man, all coming together, wizards, all coming together to accomplish something together. This is diversity in his day. But other creators took it further by actually embracing the actual diversity in our real tangible world and bringing it into the fantasy. Le Guin does that beautifully. Tolkien, I think, believed he was doing that, but he didn't accomplish it just as well, I think, as some people do. But that's one thing. It's your choice to not carry through with that. You select to avoid updating or changing things. That's a decision you make consciously. You decided that. So the question becomes, why did you decide that? What did you accomplish as a result?
At Matcherlock9636 super chatted $5. Paraphrasing Hellboy, the Nazi cries out in an empty castle, I am the future. The hero says, you are too stuck in the past. Blam, justice served.
Exactly. The thing with the culture war, quote unquote, is this. Will this Lord of the Rings film probably do successfully? Oh yeah, absolutely. But though fascists, again, Palantir, that's named after the freaking orbs from Lord of the Rings, though the right loves Lord of the Rings and loves obsessing over Lord of the Rings, they're never going to have it fully. They'll never have it fully. No matter how much they try, no matter how much they want to, they will never own Lord of the Rings. Because Lord of the Rings is too big. It's too big. It's like the Odyssey. It's too big for just them. And even though they might have and one movie that kind of aligns with what they think. The reality simply is that it's just too big. Yeah, Critical Role, Vox Machina, Mighty Nine, tons of diversity there, and a lot of sexual diversity, which is a lot of fun. It embraces the diversity of their story. That's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. Diverse people love fantasy, and they will always embrace it. That may, in fact, be the topic of an upcoming video, potentially, that I'm working on. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, so that's most of what I had to talk about today. I don't think the Tolkien guys will ever be owned by the right. The right will complain endlessly, but they'll complain about this movie too. That's the problem with appealing to the right. They don't actually show up. I'm going to show you what I mean. Let me show you something real quick. So, Young Washington, right? That movie we mentioned at the beginning that Andy Serkis was in. Let's look at the box office for this. Young Washington was the big historical blockbuster about the founding of America, right? It grossed $41 million worldwide. Now, low budget film because they cut corners by using AI, yes. But the film still cost $20 million to make. This film did not break even. Or if it did, it barely broke even.
At Devavalensky 6327 super chatted $4.99. The culture in media in a nutshell for me. Both sides arguing the meaning of scrolling McBooger balls from South Park.
Exactly. So, that's the reality of it. It's not terrible, this film. There is a sequel being made, but it's just whatever. At least it did better than Citizen Vigilante, which, as of now, there are no documentation on how well it did. Because it's a piece of shit. So is Young Washington, but that's different.
At Matcherlock 9636 super chatted $2. Is Norse mythology too big for them to own?
It is. Norse mythology is too big for them to own, though they try. They try to take the iconography, but they'll never own it. Because they can never reckon with the fact that the core tenets of Norse mythology involve Loki becoming a pregnant horse. Loki becomes a female horse and gets impregnated. That is a core tenet of Norse mythology, and they have never actually contended with that reality. Anyway. We are wrapping up for today, but before we go, I do want to mention what will be coming out on Friday. Now, I am prepping mostly for a big couple of projects coming up in the next few weeks. So this week will be a slower week, but after the last two videos, I think I can take a little bit of a time. I can take a little bit of an easier week this week, I think. So just one video. That one video, however, will be, oh, I don't think I have the thing on here anymore. Maybe I have to back it up. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Where is it? Hang on, where's the video? I'm trying to find the thumbnail for this because it was Krim did a good job. Where is it? Oh, here you go. So it's in honor of an upcoming film. Basically, everything we're doing the next couple weeks is going to be focused on Spider-Man related, but this one is a bit different. we're going to be looking at a very different movie coming out. The video is done. It's all prepped. It's been done for a couple weeks now. We're going to talk about a movie that came out over 20 years ago this Friday. And I may have some controversial takes on it. I'm not sure. We'll find out. This movie has been kind of getting a reappraisal in the last couple of years. But I want to talk about Ang Lee's Hulk right before a new Hulk appears, essentially. And I want to ask, is this the better version of the Hulk compared to the MCU? Or does this film deserve the reputation it got back in 2003? We'll find out. I will say this, though. The score for Ang Lee's Hulk is absolutely fantastic. It's been stuck in my head the entirety of this week. Genuinely underrated Danny Elfman score. Is the film itself good? Well, we'll find out. I will say, however, that it does have the best depiction of Thunderbolt Ross. Freaking love Sam Elliott as Thunderbolt Ross. Absolutely fantastic performance.
At the guy 493 super chatted $2. Ang Lee, you will not like me when I am Ang Lee.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I also love looking at the behind the scenes footage of Ang Lee's Hulk, where it turns out Ang Lee did all the motion capture. That's wild to me. That the director was like, no. I want to be Hulk in my Hulk movie. I want to do the Hulk stuff. I'm going to take center stage and be the Hulk. In fairness, I'm shocked no one else has tried that. But I mean, I guess they want to keep like Mark Ruffalo's like facial appearance on there. But I you know what? Credit to Ang Lee. I did the same thing if I was a director of a Hulk movie. I'm like, no, I want to be the Hulk. I want to smash shit. I love that. And this is behind the scenes footage of him like just roaring with the mocap suit, rolling around, punching it. It's great. Because only he could capture exactly what was in his head. I love that detail. But yeah, this was coming soon. And then next week, we are going to have a massive project for you. A big one. A really big one. Like, it will maybe be, it's at least over an hour, possibly an hour and a half, maybe almost 2 hours maybe.
At Matt Sherlock 9636 super chatted $2. Thor is half giant, mixed cross dresses.
Yep. So, I mean, Thor cross dresses too. It's great. It's wild. There's a whole wedding scene in mythology. It's fantastic. But yeah, no, the next week's video will be at least an hour, possibly more. We're still working on it. It's gonna be a big vid, and there might be another video too alongside it too, just to give me some time to finish it. Worst case scenario, but I digress. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We have a lot coming for you guys, and then next month we're going in some other big projects too. I have been working on a few big ones recently, and I'm excited to share all of that with you. It's gonna be fun, hopefully, and yeah, until then, see you all next time. Bye-bye. Where's my mouse? Oh, here we go. Bye, everyone.